Hey there! If you're watching this live, then you're what I like to call fashionably early, or more like fashionably on time, so thank you for being here. If you're not watching this live, feel free to skip a minute or so ahead. But if you're here, take this opportunity to slow down, maybe go brush your teeth, get a glass of water, say hi to everyone in the comments, or I could stop talking and let you enjoy some jazz. You still here? Good. I'm just checking. Before we begin, remember to keep it civil in the comments. Don't say anything you wouldn't want said to you. Thank you for being here, and enjoy the stream. Hello ladies and gentlemen, my name is Apostate Aladdin, or Apostate Aladdin. Today I am joined by a very special guest. She reached out to me. Her name is Luna, by the way, very beautiful name. She reached out to me because she wanted to talk about her story. And I was very happy to hear that because there are a lot of stories that are stories and people. Let's make that very clear. There are a lot of people who are very underrepresented in these spaces. And because I mainly know my experience and the experiences that you tell me, that is I am limited in the scope of things I can talk about, except when people join my streams and they tell me their point of view. So I want to thank Luna for being here, and I'll bring her onto the stream right now. Hi, Luna. How are you?
Hi, Aladdin. How are you? I'm
I am
glad to be
good,
here.
thanks. I'm good,
Thank you.
thank you. So I know that this must be must feel like a first time to do something like this. And what are you thinking about right now? What's going on in your mind?
Yeah, I'm thinking like I want to bring the experience of just a normal Muslim in the Middle East, joining the Islamic groups, being in the normal conservative family without extraordinary things happen. How does it look like?
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, people hear about people, yeah, the other women who are hated, who are mistreated, but this, like, such a normal life is sometimes not there.
That's a great point. So it's there are a lot of stories with very difficult circumstances where the woman was mistreated harshly and she just found herself in these more strict Islamic groups, but yours is different, right?
Yeah, because
Yeah,
it's just normal.
yeah. It could happen to anyone, right?
Exactly, it's not special at all. It's the story of almost every woman in the middle class, middle conservative family in Syria.
Okay. Yeah. I'm glad that you're able to give us that perspective. I know a lot of people would presume, if you have um, a difficult time that you're going through, or if things get very extreme at some point, it must be a special circumstance. But it's good to give us some perspective that this is just a normal story. Um,
Yeah,
yeah. So thank you again for being here.
and I
So
thank you.
yeah, no, that's no issue. Um, so can you tell us more about what started it? How did you go from being, moderate to one of these groups?
So I remember myself as a child in the mosque. I can't remember any time from my time life when I was not involved in the mosques, in the groups. I grew up in the mosques. So in my time life, religious people are somehow dominating the education system.
Okay.
So they pick up the child in the school to go to join them with a halaqah in the mosque, like this. And
So the
then you
school wasn't
grow.
like it wasn't that the school was an Islamic school. No?
Almost the majority of schools are dominated by Islamic groups,
Okay.
and especially the Islamic women groups. There
Really?
is one main woman is Islamic women group in Syria called Qubaysiyat.
Okay.
They are everywhere,
Yeah.
and especially in the education at schools.
So they're able to get these ideas in your head as a child then.
Exactly.
Mhm.
So they pick up the children, and they try to choose the smart children, the good at school children. They prefer them, but they try to take as much as possible.
Mhm.
So you are a child, you are involved in the mosque. You have a very good relationship with the teacher in the mosque. The teacher in the mosque, she knows you. She knows your parents. She knows your friends, your environment.
So does
You
she
find
feel
yourself
like a teacher to you or more like a friend of the family or an aunt or something like that?
something like the leader,
Okay. Of even of your family?
not of my family, but they involve themselves in the families so that they can have acceptance, so they can have more authorities on you, showing your family that they are doing the best for you
Mhm.
and they are bringing you to the way of Allah.
And you think they're doing it with good intentions or not?
Yeah, I think it's a good intention because they are convinced that they live fi sabilillah,
Mhm. For God's sake. Is
for
yeah.
God's sake.
Yeah.
And to be honest, many of them are nice characters and nice
Yeah.
people.
Mhm. That's a good reminder because just it makes things more difficult when you do think highly of them, or at least you know that they aren't doing this out of evil or malicious reasons. But
Exactly.
yeah, yeah,
So you as a child, they have like chain of books, chain of a plan. You are involved. So this age they should memorize the last juz of Quran,
the last chapter of the Quran.
the
Okay, the
last
the shortest
chapter.
stories,
Yeah,
right?
exactly,
The shortest
exactly.
verses.
And
Um,
each age has something to do, and all is good, very good organized.
mhm.
And yeah, you start memorize Quran. They teach you the tajweed, they teach you the stories, the Sahaba, the heroes, the Prophet Muhammad, and then you are in the older, you get older, then
Mhm.
at that time you are really involved in them.
Okay,
So you are in an Islamic group, so you should feel loyal toward them. This is
and what does that mean, or what does it look like being loyal to them?
this looks like that you will not go to another group. You will not go to another mosque. You will not hear to another religious people. You hear their opinion. You look at their point of view, you talk to them just.
So these are all groups under the main group?
No, this is the main group. I'm talking
Okay.
about the main group.
Okay.
Because there are other small groups, but you are a cheater if you go somewhere else.
Okay. Like a trader.
Like a
Yeah.
trader, you
Like
have
khayin, right?
exactly.
Yeah.
So, and then when the women start to have their period, they start to work on the things more seriously.
Mhm.
You are now um, an adult.
How old is that, by the way?
It's like 12, 13 years old,
Okay.
most probably 12 years old. And when you have your period, they start to, yeah, what about hijab? What about hijab? You, you are faced with this question everywhere. And even in each family, there is an aunt to go to the father, to go to the parents. So where's the hijab of your daughter? When will you wear the hijab? And then it
Would you say
start to
that it was
feel
that it felt like you were choosing to wear the hijab?
so you have like the idea that you will one day you will wear it.
Hmm.
So choosing to wear it or not to wear it is not the real thing, but choosing when to wear it
Mm.
is the issue.
And how did you think of when you should wear it? So, like,
You will.
how did you decide?
I wanted to be a very good Muslim.
Hmm.
So at that time, and I saw everyone wearing it, and they asked me many times in the mosque, so are you happy that now you have your period and Allah is counting the days you go out without hijab? When
Wow.
every guy in the street will see your hair, you you will be uh, you will have hisab.
Like
What does it happen?
consequences or judgment.
You
Yeah.
have judgment of every hair of your hair, of every man who is looking at you. You are
That's
guilty, you have
judgment
guilt.
by Allah, right? Not
Yeah,
by people. They're saying God's gonna like He's gonna make you accountable for this.
exactly. And especially you have heard the hadith before of in the hell women are pulled out from their hairs because they used to go out without hijab showing her hairs.
You
You
know, they
have
never
all
taught
this.
us that hadith. Like the men, we weren't taught this part of it, or at least it's not common knowledge. But I'm surprised so many women have told me this, that they learned it in school and from their family, or groups of friends and so on. So I'm still surprised to hear that.
So this kind of imagination is somehow it's it's horrible. It's not nice to just imagine yourself pulled from your hair and
Hmm.
you will go to the tomb and someone a snake will come to you. It's you will as a young girl, you will not want you don't want this to happen to you.
Hmm.
So you wear it. And I myself, I wanted to be as much as I can a good Muslim, a good person to satisfy Allah.
So you didn't. I'm trying starting to understand. So you at some point wanted to wear it to be a very good Muslimah, right?
Yeah,
And
and
what
to not
about
have
those
this kind
who
of punishment.
and to not have this kind of punishment? Yeah. Yeah. Which one do you think was more of a factor? Like how much percentage of it was because you were scared of the punishment or didn't want the punishment? How much was because you wanted to be a better Muslim?
So they are connected.
Hmm.
So you
Yeah.
are better Muslim. One of the reasons is that you want to avoid this punishment.
Well, did you feel like part of it was because you wanted to make Allah happy and you
Yeah,
were happy because of that? Like, did
yeah,
you believe the things that they told you about, like you look more beautiful in a hijab and
yeah.
all that stuff about its protection for you? Did you believe those things?
So so that it's a protection. I didn't just cared about this, but I just it's a protection from a hellfire.
Hmm.
It was like this for me.
So, a couple of questions I have.
Yes.
One of them is, what happened to, or this may have not been your experience, but what happened to the girls who delayed wearing the hijab or eventually like didn't wear it at all? What
Aha.
was life like for them?
Uh, so you talk about people who I know who delayed. So
Or the people like in your environment, exactly.
in my environment, no one delayed wearing hijab.
Okay. No one even delayed it, so everybody wore it and soon.
Relatively, I was too late to wear it,
How old were
and
you?
I was 13 years old.
And that
Too
was late?
late. Yes, because
Wow.
usually in the very conservative environments, the girl wear it before she get her period, because so when she have her period, she wears it already. She's just
Oh.
there is no day of difference.
Oh, so on the same day.
Before, so on the same day, she has no risk. It's not risky for her.
Hmm. But people think that if she delays it by a few days, or the most conservative people would think if she delays it by a few days, that's that's wrong. Like that's very risky.
It's not the conservative, the very conservative people, they make
Hmm.
it before the period. But the
Okay.
medium conservative families, it's okay for them until the age of 14, 15. But
Okay.
she will have another pressure in the Islamic groups because the majority of people in Syria are engaged somehow in the Islamic groups.
So even if they're in their family life, they're not. Their parents are moderate, or the people around them are moderate.
Yeah. So in my case, my family were like, my father was much cooler than me,
Oh, okay.
and even my mother is more conservative, but she was easier than me. So, and at school it's like, and in the mosque they let you feel that those women who just don't wear hijab, they are just, it's very bad thing, they are doing very bad thing.
How did you feel towards those women?
This is a good question because I wanted to speak about this, but let me first of all
Oh, sure.
tell you about uh, the steps in the Islamic groups. So you start wearing hijab, and then if you are from the good student, the student who want to be good Muslims, they start asking you more things. So first of all, the trousers is haram.
Pants are haram.
Trousers are
Mhm.
haram. You start to wear long skirt, and then you start to wear in the mosque. They start to convince you should wear skirt and a shirt over with ink sleeves, and over you should wear a long jacket and thick socks
That
and
was all
hijab.
all times of the year, of course, right?
Yeah, all times of the year. So after, yeah, step after a step, you wear everything. Otherwise, because it's very bad if 2 centimeters from the hand appeared while you raise your hand somewhere, is too bad. If you go to the bus, if the few centimeters from your leg is shown, it's a catastrophe.
Hmm. Is it, and people point that out right away?
Yeah,
So women or men would point it out?
both, both,
Both.
both.
And
And
just
then
men in like close to you, or just any men in general?
close to you, they avoid to talk about it. They tell the woman to tell you,
Oh, okay.
so that it appears like advice. And then you start to feel yourself that it's like a crime if few centimeters from your hand, your arm is shown. uh, and and then they start in the mosque even convincing you that the trousers, wearing trousers, is even haram when your father is there, because he's a man.
So how conservatively do they want you to dress in front of your father?
Something like skirt.
And the rest of your attire, like, are you are you allowed to wear, like, for example, a tank top? You know what that means? The, like, no sleeves shirt
It's You are allowed, but it's bad. A good woman will not do this
in your own house.
in your own house. But this is not by the normal, the families. It's okay in the family, but in the mosque they push you to do this, and they tell you to not tell your parents that they
Oh,
are
to not
telling
tell
you
them
like
why
this,
you're dressing like this?
because they think that your parents are misled.
So they're kind of th- they're turning you against your parents in a way. Would you say that?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
They are misled your parents. So, but we care about you. We care that you don't go to hell. So you should do it. And slowly, it's even in between the women, wearing trousers is haram in between
Even
the woman.
between, okay. And they do that gradually then, right?
Yeah. So when they feel they are experienced in let they let you step by step to be more like them.
And how old, I'm trying to understand the according to your age, how old would that phase come in where you're supposed to not
I
wear
was
pants in the
15.
house? Sorry?
15.
15.
Yeah. And even my father was worried about me. And once he told me, oh, he saw me incidentally with trousers. So he wanted to be nice, saying, oh, it fits with you. So I felt very, very bad. And then I told the teacher this story, and she's like pointing out, he's a man.
Hmm. You trusted her more than your dad, right?
Yeah,
At least in that kind of situation.
yes. And I felt guilty. Like when my father at that time saw me with trousers, I felt guilty 2, 3 days. I felt bad.
I'm really sorry to hear that. That's all the, like, we start to form our memories young, but the things that stick with us are around that age, and that's all
Yeah,
you knew.
yeah, yes, exactly. And this also, you are stressed all the time because almost everything is haram. The haram is everywhere, and you are stressed. You don't want to get into the haram. And then, uh, to be able to stand the stress, they tell you you are selected by Allah. So they start convince you that you are the best, because you don't have to do something very hard until you feel that it's very good, and until you feel that not doing this very hard thing is bad. They are automatically, these ideas comes automatically after each other.
And does that when you're told that, you're doing the best thing, and you're one of the best people, does that make you feel, um, or you and people around you, do people feel proud, or do they feel more superior, like they're better than the
Somehow,
other people?
somehow,
So
somehow.
Like, which one is it, or how do people feel
Superior.
towards the others?
Yeah, it goes parallelly with something else, because a lot of things are haram, so you can't deal with many people, because dealing with many people outside of the mosque will let you hear some music. And even it's, yeah, when you just imagine that if you hear music, uh, hot metal will be in your ears. It's horrible imagination. And at school I was taught like this, and I remember this. It's like now. I remember one time I was in my grandfather's home, and there was like on TV music, and I needed to put my hands over my ears and to close my eyes so that I don't look at the haram and I don't hear the haram. And I was funny doing this as a little girl.
People laughed at it.
They found it just strange, and it is strange. So
I mean,
imagine yourself
did they find
in
it
this.
strange, like in a concerned way about you, or just
Yeah.
laughing it off as, this is
No, no,
silly?
no. They were concerned
Hmm.
that why is she doing this? Something is not good. It's not going good. And then imagine yourself so making all these kind of nice things forbidden. Can you interact with other people? Because all other people, they do the haram things, and they, when you are with them, you should be involved with the haram.
Even if you don't
So
intend to, or you don't want to.
yeah, and even you, if you are invited to a wedding, in Syria the weddings are just separated: for women wedding, for men another wedding. So even going to the woman's wedding was just torture for me. It's like, you see women with short skirts is haram to see, and you hear
As a
music.
woman,
Yeah.
why is that? Because you're worried you're seeing their aura, or
Yeah,
because you
because you
might be
see the
like
aura.
them?
The aura is between the is يعني the knee should be covered according to the Islamic law, even between the women themselves. So seeing this aura, knowing that you will be judged for this, and it's bad behavior to look at women wearing skirts, gives you stress. It's stressy, and at the same time, hearing music makes you more stressy. And they tell you before you go to the, because you will go and ask your teacher, but I'm invited to go to the wedding. My mother will be annoyed if if I don't go with her. She will she will be sad. What should I do? They convince you to go, but to think about something else while hearing the music, and to go just to not stay long time.
And you're saying some of the stuff you learned, you were saying if you listen to music, or if you hear music accidentally, in hell there's going to be hot iron in your ear. And you said you learned that in school, right?
So most probably in school, yeah, at school.
Yeah, because you said school. I'm not trying to
The
misquote you.
same people are in
Yeah.
the school and the mosque, so it's the same at the end.
Like, are they the teachers,
Yeah.
or okay? That's awful. Like, even if you're not, even if you somehow, you and your family resist sending you to these groups, well, not sending you, agreeing that you go to these groups, which I guess is not really a decision for them to make, right? Like, it's just presumed by default that you will go.
Yeah, they make, first of all, they don't say this to the parents. They try to bring you to show your parents that they can tell you study well and you will study well. Be good to your parents and you will be good to your parents. Be a good person, use your time, and you will use your time. And they make for the children full-time program in the summertime, in the holidays, program for prayers and sunnah also. program what kind of sins you have done.
Does did you, two questions here. Did you feel like a better person, or you felt like you were being a better person by following these rules? And also, did people in your life see the other accomplishments, like being a good kid, doing well in school? Did they see it as kind of making it less of a big deal that you're also getting more religious?
So it's it's complicated because talking about my family, they were a little bit, yeah, afraid of getting more religious in this way. But at the same time, um, socially, when you are religious, when you know a lot of Quran, when you are accepted socially. I used to lead prayer in between the women because I was the most. I memorized in 2.5 months, like one third of the Quran with tajweed. And I used to go to a step later. I used to go to the mosque to teach children. So it was a social position somehow also.
Wait, how old were you when you started teaching?
Like 17, 18.
Wow. Like the,
And
and
I
and
used to teach women tajweed.
that sounds like, what you're telling me sounds like it's a social position, right? It's just it's your community now,
Hmm.
and it sounds like it takes up all of your attention and time, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Like that's your reality ever since before you hit puberty.
yes.
I have to say, and this is honestly, this is a testament to how um, intelligent and kind of, I don't like using this word often, but free thinking of a person you are, that even though you are put in this position, as and so many other people, right? So many other moderate Muslims in Syria are put in this position. You somehow manage to see beyond all of this eventually.
Be- but it's just because of some conditions. Without these conditions, which happened not in my hand, I would have been like this now.
That's a very good point, and I kind of take back what I just said. So you're saying more people, like you got lucky because of the certain random events that happen that helped you get out of this mentality, but so
Yeah,
many other people didn't get that chance, but they would have if they
yeah,
did, right?
I think, I think so.
Mhm.
Although it's hard, the hard point is that you have acceptance in the society. To get this acceptance back is hard. We all like to be loved, to be admired.
Mhm.
And also this the feeling of the selected ones, the superior, is somehow, one side it lets you feel better than the others, but in the other hand, it it restricts you. You can't integrate with the society. You can't integrate with the others. Then you will be more and more and more closed to the, just in the group, in yourself, and it's not in your hand. It's you think like it's designed to be like this, so you can't be able to deal with other people who hear, because music is everywhere. um, Non-Islamic clothes is everywhere. So
Mhm.
yeah, but yeah, like not being able to love the others, to accept them from your heart.
Because you feel like, is it because you feel like they're going to hell, or because you fear that they will take you to hell with them?
Both together. And also, when you don't have any emotional relationship with the others, like like he's he's an alien, he's outside, he's not close to you, you will not have emotions, you will not be able to understand him,
Wait, you
and you will
say
not be
him,
willing.
but do you mean men and women, or you're
Yeah,
talking? Okay,
yeah, in general.
yeah. And I'm guessing most of the people you knew were women, or was it an even split
Yeah,
of men and women?
yeah. It's always, yeah, not mixed. And
Okay.
even we were told in the mosque that look, it's funny. If you want to go to buy a piece of clothes in one shop, before you go, you count how many words is it necessary to speak to this man to buy this. Are they four? Four. The fifth is haram.
Wow. Like so
Yeah.
so trying to minimize it, and why is that? Why is it that you do you feel pressured, or were you taught to use as few words as possible?
Not just, yeah, you count how many words before you go. To not you are not allowed to talk more than it needed.
Hmm. And why? What's the reason behind that? What happens if you talk more than needed, or what do you think the
Fitna.
mistake is?
The fitna.
Fitna meaning temptation, that you're tempting the man.
Yes. And this
By
will open the
Mhm.
door of the wrong relationships and the wrong looking, the and maybe later you will smile. And by the way,
You're not supposed to smile, right?
one time I was told that teeth are aura.
Teeth.
Yeah, so don't smile in front of a man.
Wow. Are they worried that the man's gonna have? Is it that they're worried that that there's gonna be a real sinful relationship, or even the thoughts are sins?
You should avoid the thoughts to avoid the step after the thoughts.
But if you have the thoughts and like you push them away and whatnot, is that still a sin? Do you still feel guilty?
As much, yeah, push them away and it's okay, no problem.
Okay.
But push them away.
By the way, before we continue, I there are some comments that I'm putting aside. We might address them all in the end. So I just want to let the people know we're gonna get to your comment eventually. But there's one comment that I want to mention here. This person right here, and I want to single them out from the audience. This person right here keeps trying to push this narrative that you're pretending to be a victim, and I am like bringing you on to praise you and to set you as some kind of example to make Islam look bad or something like that.
So,
And I
but what I said from the beginning, that I said that in the mosque the teachers are nice and
mhm.
are doing with a good intention in the
No,
sake
sorry,
of Allah.
they mean that you are here talking about this because you want to get attention or portray yourself as a victim, like
Yeah,
to
but
tell
where
people,
is, but
yeah, but
my face is not here, my identity is not here. So what
exactly,
kind of attention I will have?
exactly,
And I'm
and
trying myself and
mhm.
my best to not make people look like devils.
Yeah, you are
I say
telling
it.
people, yeah, yeah, okay, you're telling people that they're not bad people,
Yeah,
the people in your environment.
yeah. I love my family. They are nice people. I'm not
Hmm.
trying to make them bad, but this is the reality. We should accept the reality without just making up
Hmm.
stories. We should be honest to be
I
able
Yeah.
to solve our problems.
No, I want to say I absolutely believe you, and this kind of comment annoys me because I'm guessing this is a man, probably. Or if it's a woman, then it's one of the women you have been describing, unfortunately. And
Yeah,
they try to, like, this is the kind of pressure that people like you have to face when you come and talk about it. People accuse them of all sorts of things. When, like you said, you're not even showing your face. What kind of attention would you want? If anything, you're trying to avoid attention. So this kind of person, I want to tell them, get out of our spaces because we need this. We need this, and they're getting in the way of it. So, yeah. What do you want to
so
say to that person?
so if you don't want to just to believe it, it's your business. But it will be existed even if you want to believe it or not. It's existed and it will be existed.
Mhm.
And even as a Muslim, you should be happy that you can fix some mistakes. It helps.
That's a good point. So if a Muslim is watching this, they should think we need to fix that for the sake
Yeah,
of Islam and Muslims.
exactly.
Unless
Exactly.
they think this is, yeah, that's really good, because usually they just take the approach of this is not real Islam, this is not
Yeah,
us, has nothing to do with Islam, and then they don't
exactly.
fix anything.
So Muslims are our family, our friends. We love them. I love them. They are my family, my mother, my father. Just how can I hate them and wanted to make them bad? It's, yeah, but everyone is free to think whatever he wants.
Yeah, but they should, the way that non-Muslims or ex-Muslims or Muslims themselves are pressured by the community, I think we have not only the right but the responsibility to push back when we can. Like in this instance, he's free to think what he wants, but
Yeah.
we are more than justified to shame him for how he thinks and to call him out. I'm sorry if I'm getting a little bit more stern or strict about this than you are. I'm just so tired of seeing people try to talk over, people like you. So yeah, sorry to interrupt your thoughts
No,
with
no
that, but I
problem. No
I
problem.
felt like that had to be addressed. Um,
No problem.
yeah, and we were back to bring us back on point. Do you remember where we stopped, or do you want me to give you? We were talking about
So
lust towards other men, or
yeah,
just smiling at men, or using 5 words instead of four when you're trying to buy something.
yeah,
Um, you were guilted into having that mentality, right?
yeah.
And did you and you believe that? Did you feel uncomfortable doing it, or did you feel like this was a good thing?
So first of all, I was like taught to always to do this. And even when I used to go with my mother was a little bit ashamed because I behaved strangely.
She was
I was
ashamed of
like,
how people like saw you behave.
yeah, because I look like a loser.
Hmm.
This serious woman who does not want, it's very serious. She does not smile. She does not talk to men. Dressing very strangely, and yeah, she wanted her daughter to be just a normal girl, not stressed.
Hmm.
So this was the bad side about. But then I was used to do this. I used to do it subconsciously. I was just every time when I see a man, I just don't speak too much. But then
Hmm.
I couldn't couldn't deal anymore with men.
It's so sad that your own mother felt like, your own mother felt bad for the position that you were in, and you said embarrassed. And how did her embarrassment make you feel?
When I had some bad feelings, and I told the teacher, and she just started to say, "No, no, she did it. You are the good one." So then I became more confident. So it's right. You are wrong, my family.
Huh, so how did you feel about them, aside from being right about what you're doing and that you're doing the more Islamic correct thing that's going to keep you from hell? How did you feel towards your mother and your father?
I wished that if they would have been more religious, like the
Hmm.
teacher.
Right.
So this, yeah, this related to the way of clothing, to relationship with men, this kind of stress. The good thing about the religion is that you also are you watch the God in all your behaviors. So in the exams, I used not to cheat. Um, you try to be the best version of person you can, but in talking about the manners, you try, but it's unified in the universe. In the universe, it's good anyhow.
Hmm.
But the image of the completed, the best Muslim in the Islamic thing, this is the problem.
Hmm. Did So so you saw these as positives then? The way
Yeah,
that you adhered to the rules, even in the things that were actually moral, right? Not just the
yeah.
things like covering up your hair and so on.
So I considered at that time, I considered this from the morals.
Hmm. Like they were mixed together then.
Yeah, it was the morals. The morals are the Sharia law
Hmm.
for me. This we
And
have the
mhm.
guideline, the Quran, the Sunnah, and the teachers. This is the moral.
And so something like not stealing or not cheating on an exam felt just as felt like
Hard.
in the same group, yeah,
Yeah,
as not showing your hair or saying too
exactly.
many words to a man.
Yeah, exactly. So good intention, but the ideas are somehow like, look like a
Mixed up, yeah.
mess.
So if you see someone, for example, stealing, or someone who's rude to other people, or a bad kid, right? Do you feel the same way about them as you would about someone who's not wearing the hijab and not or not necessarily not wearing the hijab because nobody didn't wear the hijab in your circles, but did you feel the same way about like women who spoke too much, for example, as much as a
Yeah,
cheater?
yeah,
Like
yeah.
you
This
saw them
is the
as
bad woman.
morally wrong?
It's the bad woman. It was the bad woman.
So were you friends with any bad women?
Yeah, one time I had a friend who used to go and to buy cassettes,
What's that?
music, and
Oh, like
she
music
used,
tapes?
yeah, she used to
Okay.
talk with the guy, with the seller. I considered her a very bad girl,
Okay.
and I didn't prefer to talk to her a lot. I just kept distance.
Hmm. And that just meant that more of the people around you were similar to you.
Uh, People who were involved in the Islamic groups
Hmm.
were similar in this way of thinking.
But did you feel like you were like you still had people around you who you interacted with on purpose, like people that you wanted to hang out with or play with, or something that were not part of that Islamic group?
In some points, they were involved in other Islamic groups.
Hmm.
The majority of my friends.
Right.
Yeah, and I had friends at school who were involved in the Islamic groups, but they didn't take it seriously like me. So I tried to make a little bit distance between me and them, although they are nice people, and I now I'm sorry because I did this.
Yeah. I know that feeling. Looking back at yourself and thinking, um, I was in the wrong there. Like,
Yeah.
yeah.
I would like also to mention one point, but it's a little bit, maybe it will be disgusting for the audience, for the viewers, but
Oh, it
it's
has to do
there.
with women's hygiene?
Yeah, with a woman's
Okay.
hygiene. So
Okay.
when you have your first period, you are told that now from now on your prayers will be all counted. One prayer is missed, then
Hmm.
either you make qada in the time you make it again, or you do it in the hellfire.
That's and why would you miss prayer aside from like missing it for not wanting to pray or being busy? You're
Yeah.
talking about if you have your period,
So
or you're not
i-
allowed to pray, right?
yes, but if one of the conditions of the prayer was not fully well done, the prayer is not counted
Hmm.
as if you haven't prayed. One of the issues which women, the committed women, the religious women suffer is like when you have like some vaginal discharges, you are not allowed to pray until you go one time more to make wudu, or it's considered as najas. It can't be on your clothes. So if you are outside of home, it's very hard to be able to pray as a
Mhm.
woman. You are stressed, and so this is why you try to not be long time outside of home,
Because
and you
if you
have,
have any sort of discharge, then you can't pray. I mean, and you're not just are you
and it's
talking
something
about
normal.
yeah.
It's something no, with every woman is normal. But just I wanted you to have like how much stress you have in your
And is
life
that like during just I mean, that's around the time that you have your
all
period.
the
Like how much
time,
of the month? All the time.
all the time.
Yeah,
It's just
not just the
normal
period.
things
Yeah.
for any woman.
Mhm. And you can't
And
pray till you get home and like and change your clothes, and that
yeah,
means that you missed prayer, which is
yes.
yeah, okay.
And then you need to make wudu one more time, and so you have the feeling even when you pray, but most probably the prayer will not be counted.
Mhm.
It's possible. Even if I do everything, it's possible that the prayer is not. Yeah, I will try to. I will do it again in the hell.
Mhm.
So
And
imagine the
so you
kind
can't
of
leave hell
stress.
till you pay off your prayer debt then for the times that you had some discharge and you didn't
Yeah,
notice.
yeah, exactly.
Mhm.
It's
That's
it's
not
it's
something that I
very
ever considered as a man, ever.
it's very silly, but and it's maybe we should not talk about it, but it's
No, no,
pressure.
we should talk about it. Don't feel embarrassed or I noticed the way that you said it might be disgusting to some people. It shouldn't be. It really shouldn't be. It's correct me if I'm wrong, but women are taught that this is not tahara, this is najis. This
Yeah,
is dirt or
yeah,
filth, right? Filth is the
yeah.
better word for this. And like someone here, HR is saying her mother would be disgusted by like when she's cleaning her clothes because her mother was taught that this is najasa.
Yeah, and it's not allowed to clean the underwears with the other clothes within the wash machine.
Wow.
You should clean them with your hands, with running water.
How did that make you feel about that and about being a woman?
Hard.
Like did you just think did you ever think of how men go through Islam? Did that cross your mind at the time?
So I wished if I would have been a man, to be honest.
You wished that at the time.
Yeah, because I always thought that their life is easier, much easier.
I'm sorry to interrupt again, but um, I want to highlight another comment, and I know there's going to be more of those, so we're going to try to ignore them. But there's a person here who's doubting that you're actually Syrian and thinks you have some kind of other accent. This person right here, and I want to shame them for that, but I also want to embarrass them. So, can you say a couple of words in Syrian, or like, are you comfortable doing that?
شو مشكلتك؟
There we go.
أنا بقول له قول لهذا الشخص شو مشكلتك
Okay,
بالحياة؟
a lot, a lot. He has a lot of problems in life, I'm guessing. So thank you for doing that, though you didn't have to.
No
But
problem.
that was
Pleasure.
just a very quick embarrassing that person. Yeah, like why would you? How did you feel about? Did this thought ever cross your mind? Michelle is saying, why would God create his creatures women so that they're in a time they can't pray and have access to him? Isn't this a little like he created it?
Yeah.
Did that
So
cross your
we
mind at the
told,
time?
yeah, as I got my first period, first, yeah, when I was just 13 years old, I thought like this, but they always told us, no, 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 just not praying and just not touching Quran is forbidden, but you can say dua, you can contact with Allah. But now, as when when examining the religion from objectively, I find it strange.
Hmm. But it's hard to think that way when you're in it, right?
Exactly, exactly. Especially when you are surrounded with people who have the same idea, and it's okay.
Hmm.
So, talking about this kind of being committed, trying to be fully committed, this was time before going to the university. It was like this.
Hmm.
Now we are the time is to go to the university. In the university you have the chance to meet people not from your environment. So
Wait,
before
but
going
before we
there,
move on,
please.
I want to ask you about one hadith that I know a little bit about, but have you heard of the hadith about the Prophet explaining why ناقصات عقل ودين, or the
I will
concept in general, like
Yeah,
the verse as well? Did you or yeah, the
I felt
explanation?
strange. Yeah, I felt always strange about this. Although they try to make it beautiful nowadays. Yeah, naqsatu din, why? Because they don't pray in
Oh,
such.
let me translate that for people who don't know. ناقصات عقل ودين, that means they're lacking in mind or intelligence, and deen as in religion. And this is, the Prophet gave this as a justification for how the woman's testimony, her shahada, is half a man's. Like, or that's in a hadith, it's saying how that is why ناقصات عقل, that they're missing some intelligence. So how did you understand that concept?
I used always to hear that it's because the woman has more emotions, but yeah. So how naqisatu aqlin? I was in my school better than almost all the boys in the family, and I
Okay.
always I found it strange, but I wouldn't. I didn't want to destroy the whole religion, beautiful goodness, because of this small point.
You felt like it was a how did you feel about the feeling uneasy about this point, or this concept? Like, you felt like that was weird, but did you feel guilt because of feeling it's weird?
I try to put it in a box and just ignore it.
Okay.
Like many points, it just ignore it, don't think about it, because thinking will make you a lot of لا تسألوا عن أشياء إن تبدى لكم تسؤكم. Don't, oh Muslims, don't ask about things. If you would have known, maybe you would have not feel good.
So it's
So
literally
better
saying
not to
don't
ask.
ask about things that would make you doubt or leave your
Yeah,
religion.
yeah. This is the dangerous. It's dangerous.
Hmm. If you need to take moments to collect your thoughts or take a breath, please feel free. I mean,
It's okay, no problem.
yeah.
So then
And
I
mhm.
wanted to speak about going from the very conservative areas to go to the other world.
Okay.
How you are prepared as a woman to go to the university in the mosque. They tell you, don't ever enter the university alone. Always be with your friend.
Why is that?
Do not have new contacts. If a guy just asks you about a book, about a lecture, he is just being smart and want to trick you. Try
If
to
he's
answer
asking you
just
for,
promptly.
okay. So if he's asking you for anything like another university student would ask for, it's a trick.
Yeah, it's a trick. It's dangerous. It's just dangerous.
And
Dangerous.
was that true? Like, or how often was that true that guys would try to, because in other places in the world, sometimes that is true, that a guy would try to befriend or or like ask a girl a question or something to try to befriend her, not necessarily to do something, haram, or more haram. Well, how did you, is that really true? How often does it happen?
So if if guys look at you and see that you are a very religious person, they know that it's better not to ask you anything and not to interact with you, not to deal with you.
Or else what? Or
Or
why?
else they want maybe to make some relationships, friendship, like maybe they want to get to know you.
Mhm.
And I remember one time just a guy asked me something, and and I used to like him a little bit.
You had a crush
And
on him?
yeah, a little
Like,
bit like this at that
okay.
time. But I felt guilty, and then I didn't talk to him anymore.
And was it, did you feel guilty because you were talking about haram things or just in general,
Yeah,
just talking?
yeah, just talking and having like feelings.
Hmm. And how old were you at the time?
20.
Okay.
So, yeah, but in general, in the university, it's like it took from me 3 years until I just could make um, some friends from another environment.
Hmm.
Yeah, and at that time, the revolution started, and it was a crucial point in my life. I was very committed, very religious, a lot of taboos. And one of the taboos at that time was the president, was the regime. We used to be forced to believe that they are the best people on earth. We are very lucky to have this Bashar al-Assad, to have Hafiz al-Assad did very good things for us Syrians.
And was that the more conservative people believe that, or everybody, or?
So at the time, you, yeah, imagine if you are a father, you can't tell your children something else because they could be in trouble or you could end up in jail.
Hmm.
So
And no,
even
I'm trying to
in the
understand, like,
family, it's
did
taboo.
so did the, like, was were the conservative people more aligned with Bashar, or everybody, or that's a separate, like, it could be either conservative people or just the moderates, they support him.
You are not allowed to talk about the president even inside your home. You should say he's good.
Hmm.
And you are always told that it's we are very lucky we have free schools. We can go without paying to school. In
No,
other
sorry,
countries, they pay.
I still want to just understand this point. Um, like, did this part have to do with the religious schools and circles? Like, was it more likely for you to be adhering to these, to not talk about this or to think highly of him if you're more religious, or was it just a
No, no,
political
no.
thing that has nothing to do with the
It
religious
was a
aspect?
political thing, but the common thing is this was a taboo and this was a taboo.
So there are
Religion
two
is
different
taboo,
taboos. Okay.
and Assad family is another taboo, and
Okay.
is somehow holy.
Yeah.
So both holy things, when the first holy thing fall down, the other holy things couldn't resist.
Oh, so in your mind, you mean? Like
Not
like
just me, many people.
oh, so you're saying, okay, okay. I'll let you talk. Sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, yeah. So it was like together with the time of the social media, we just people conservative closed, and then we could access to Facebook and see a little bit how the other people in the other parts of the world live, and then you can discover how miserable you are.
Mhm.
And then they started the protests against the president and the problems, and this everything you feel that everything your beliefs are collapsing over your head.
Mhm.
Everything that it was taken for granted for you was just a fake, was a big lie. So the same people who used to say that Bashar is good, Assad family are the best people, we discovered that it was a lie.
And you said a couple of things you said here. You said you discover how miserable you are when you're exposed to these other groups in other parts of the world. Uh, does that mean that you didn't feel miserable up until that point, or you realize that there's another option?
So you have when you are you have When you don't have anything to compare to, you feel always afraid from outside are the enemies.
Mhm.
And you are good that you are surviving. These good people here are just saving you. Religious people are saving you from the fitna, and the government is saving you from the enemies, from Israel
Mhm.
and the West and
So you're
America
always
and the
paranoid about
Jews.
a lot of different groups.
Yeah, you just feel unsafe. Not safe, just feel afraid. And this stress is this fear which make your logical thinking decline is, yeah, they use you like this
Mhm.
all. But then when you see, no, no, is it, but other people, they have better schools, it looks nicer,
Mhm.
you feel that, yeah, you are all liars. Yeah, just a shock. It's
Mhm.
like,
And
but it's still the religious beliefs, they were like, because also I was at that time was very stressed, very religious. I couldn't resist it anymore. I couldn't make it anymore. There's a lot of stress in my life. I started just to make the religion away, just to live my life, but keep saying that it's what they say in the mosque is not the real Islam.
Mhm.
Islam is nicer.
That's your next step from. So you said your beliefs started collapsing, and then the next step was you started believing that the Islam that you knew wasn't the real Islam, and the real Islam is nicer than that.
Yeah, and
Correct?
I started to collect other fatwas because I had internet at the time. I could the first time use the internet,
Mhm.
start to hear other people, other fatwas, and I found that there are in the world people who have other opinion than this very close-minded, and they are
Mhm.
the bad. Not for me, they are the bad. They are the close-minded, not the real Islam. I will
Mhm.
discover the real Islam.
And you said your beliefs were collapsing at the time
Yeah.
because of your beliefs in the political system, or the holiness of Bashar and his system, and that led you. It's kind of like a domino effect. It led you to lose your this very strong adherence to your religious groups.
I
So
felt the
mhm.
holiness of every leader is fake.
So how did that collapsing that you mentioned, how did it make you feel, and how long was that phase before you got to this researching Islam in a different way?
So researching Islam in a different way, yeah, started. I started to do what my mother does, easier, a little bit easier, but still Islam, but still conservative.
But how did you feel about this shift? That were you like, for example, I'm trying not to like give you an answer. I want to hear yours. Like, um, how did you feel when you realized that the religious groups you're in are not just holy authority figures, that you can find another avenue like Islam, the way your mother practices it, or more progressive? How did that make you feel? Were you relieved, or were you at first
Not,
shocked?
I felt not safe. Maybe I'm doing something wrong because also I had this social look at me that you were religious, you were like a very religious person, and now what is going on you let this dunya makes fitna for you,
This
you
life,
like this dunya,
the
this
life being
life.
temptation, yeah.
Yeah,
Hmm.
I started to get this, but was for me it was okay.
Hmm.
It's better, but still unsafe. Like inside me, because it's still unsafe. I don't know if I'm doing what I'm doing now. Is it wrong or right?
Even in that, taking that step outside of your previous world, you felt unsafe doing that. You felt hesitant.
Yeah,
Okay.
but it was less stress than holding everything and don't talk to anyone, and your prayers are not. It
Hmm.
was somehow better, a little bit better. So after some years, I kept this like normal conservative person in Syria, not committed. Then I came to I immigrated from my country, and finally I met the kuffar. I was just, those are the kuffar? Seriously? Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
So I was all my life trying to avoid the kuffar, the hell, and to find those.
Mhm.
I was really, it was it was very big shock for me.
What was it like? What did you think of them before, and how did you find them when you met them?
You don't think you feel that someone who deserves to go to the hellfire of the very fair, merciful God, put them in the hellfire fire they deserve. So this leads to the idea they are bad.
I've always thought of it. I mean, I couldn't I couldn't bring myself to think of it that way as a Muslim. And this is not like a fault of you or a fault of me. It's just my situation was a little less, was a lot less strict than this. But
Yeah, but I have
yeah,
never met kuffar. When I
yeah, no, no,
felt
I,
like
I
this, I
completely
have never met
understand.
kuffar.
No, I understand. Like when you have the conclusion that God is fair, so no matter what happens, Allah is fair. So if Allah
Yeah,
decides that they deserve the worst of hell, then it must be because they deserve it.
yeah.
Yeah. And when you met them,
Then
how, like,
this
what did
was
you
a
think?
shock. I had like some imagination in my head. I saw them burning in my head, and I couldn't carry this feeling. So
Hmm.
both ideas of the merciful and justice God and those people who I like burning forever. It's and I had the imagination of someone is burned when I met them and read Quran, then meeting people.
Hmm.
Psychologically, it was hard. They those two ideas they can't work together.
Hmm. I felt the same way. I can relate to you very much, and I'm
So
sure a
you
lot of
either
people can. Yeah.
yeah, I'm sorry. So you either have the choice to love them truly, believing in them good people, or believing a real belief in God and his justice and his religion, and you have the truth and they don't. They are misled.
Hmm.
Those two ideas are they can't be together unless that you are not honest with one of them. When you honestly believe in this and this, it does not make sense.
Wait, do you mean honestly, as in your intention is honest, or more like if you strongly or full-heartedly believe in it?
Yeah, if you open the Quran and read about the kuffar who will be forever in the hell and
Hmm.
their skins will be replaced when they are fully burned to have more pain. If you are a believer so that you can see this image in front of your eyes, you will not be able either uh, you can't love them because they will be deserving for this. You can't
Hmm.
love them and you can't meet them.
Yeah, it's very conflicting.
Yeah,
Yeah, and you grew up memorizing the Quran, and
yeah,
your first language is obviously Arabic.
yeah.
How old were you when you first started like reading these verses about hell and torture?
S- uh, so I can't remember because I don't remember myself being in the world without reading Quran.
So ever since your first memories,
Since I started reading.
same here,
Yeah.
same here.
But it's also we used to read it first of all. No one taught us the tafsir, the interpretation. Although I learned a lot of classes, I took a lot of classes in religion. The tafsir, the interpretation, was not included.
How much of it did you understand? Or at least about the verses of torture and so on?
So the verses of torture are just very obvious. But the other verses, the problematic verses, you read like a papagay, and yeah, believing that you can't, you are not very experienced to understand it.
You said, interesting, you said the problematic verses where you needed tafsir for, but the verses about hell are problematic, right? But you
Yeah,
just
but
mean
the
they're,
problematic in interpretation, that
yeah.
you as an as a normal person, you can't figure it out and know the story about this, and interpretate the difficult language.
Mhm. And 1 second to pause us again. There's a person here because I want to address this mentality. He says, I disagree with her train of thought here, but never mind. She went through a war. I don't want to nitpick this idea. I respect anyone who got out of Syria alive. Nothing, we haven't talked about the war yet. And I'm not saying this so we start talking about the war, but I want to tell this person nothing she mentioned has to do with her going through a war or anything. Like this
No.
experience, and I think you mentioned this earlier, Luna, this experience a lot of women go through in a lot of different countries, not just
Yeah.
because it's Syria.
Yeah.
Like everything she's saying, I'm relating to when I had even less strenuous circumstances. So I can only imagine how much more intense this is for her. So I want people to understand this isn't some rare case because of war or because of a poor country or something like that.
No, no, no,
This
no.
happens
Yeah,
a lot.
yeah, yeah. This is the normal life of a normal person, a
Hmm.
normal woman in the conservative family, and in the mosques.
Hmm. Thank you
So
for clarifying that.
so and then what bothered me, that after, when also we could see ISIS, we could see the Islamic groups, we could see the evil regime, the evil all, how they fighted with each other. And then the question also came, why is this happening? Why is it like this? But then you find yourself like, no, because the Islam is not here, because they are all not good Muslims, they don't practice the real Islam. Then I wanted to know, what does the real Islam mean? I went to the history, to the Islamic history, and I was surprised to see how many wars directly after the Prophet died happened immediately. So,
Hmm.
I just thought, who can be the real Muslim? The Sahaba and the Prophet.
Hmm.
The Sahaba and the Prophet, when the Prophet Muhammad died, and then the same year and the next year, there was Hurub al-Ridda,
The
and then
fights of
afterward,
apostasy, حروب
yeah,
الردة. Okay.
yeah, and then afterward, in the time of Ali, there was Ma'arakat Siffin between Ali and Muawiyah,
Hmm.
and the involved people were the Sahaba. And especially when I just I no one before have told me that the Sahaba had wars between each other.
Yeah, I didn't learn about this when I was younger either.
Yeah. Then I just
Did you
thought,
ever ask about like the different factions and like did you ask about Shias when you were growing up?
yeah.
Did you meet Shias?
So when I was, no, before, no, but then when I started to question myself, I started to listen to the Shia, to the Shia sheikhs, to channels, how they have different, it's completely different history from our version.
Mhm.
And then I started to see, but they have right in some points. I started to go out of myself, starting with my small Islamic group, a little bit out. then another countries, another fatwas, I just could a little bit out. Then I started to hear the Shia with completely different history. And then I started to, so this something is not going, is strange. When I just saw this معركة حطين, I thought those are the people, the Sahaba, who really knows the Islam, and they fight it in between each other. So the
Mm-hmm.
real Islam was there, and the Islamic idea couldn't protect them from fighting, having a very big war, fighting
Mm-hmm.
with each other.
Yeah, that's you know, funny because there's a prophecy, where the prophet says that there's going to be fighting, afterwards. Not, I don't think he says right after. I'm not sure if he says right after I die, but some Muslims see that as like, oh wow, he must be a prophet because he knew it was going to happen. But what do you think about that? Like, is it really a
So
prophecy that they're going to fight? Like, do you think this is an
it could be
amazing
that
thing?
it's not true that he say this, and it could be
Hmm.
that he knows that they are not the perfect. They
Yeah,
will fight. It's obvious because
yeah.
he knew that it was political. Because if you just see the حروب الردة, almost everyone other than the Medina, Mecca, Taif, and those uh, near them, nearby, all of them went out. They didn't want to be involved anymore.
So, do they
So
think they
how?
ever wanted to be religious to begin with, or it was just about
Yeah,
being in the group for political reasons?
I thought it's political,
You
and
know,
I
that's
thought it was sword with a sword.
remember the verses that say, "وَرَأَيْتَ النَّاسَ يَدْخُلُونَ فِي دِينِ اللَّهِ أَفْوَاجًا."
Yeah,
That's what I thought. I thought, why were they suddenly entering in droves after al-Fath? Like, what's
yeah.
the link here? Did they all start believing after the city was conquered? I
It's
don't think
like, yeah,
I don't think
it's
that's how
like,
belief works.
no, no, not at all. And if
Hmm.
it was for believing, they could have not went out immediately in the same year of death of the prophet.
Hmm.
And then the Sahaba in between themselves fighting in the Hattin war, and many died. And finally, they were both like both parties reading Quran, praying, God, Allah, help us to fight the enemies.
They
The
both saw
Ya
each other
Quran,
as
Ya
enemies of
Quran,
Islam. Yeah.
yeah, it's like what what is this?
By the way, I want to clarify something for everyone. Luna knows more about this history than I do. It looks like you, when you were researching Islam, you looked into different parts of Islam, and I just want to recognize that a lot of what you're saying, though I might know, you know more about. So, just want to make that clear.
And I don't know a lot, but I just
Mm.
because in my case, Iran came, Saudi Arabia supported some groups, and they were it was like in somehow Sunni Shia regime, Russia, it's mixed, but the same mix was there. Not the same for sure, but similar was it's like something similar happened. So this leads that the idea itself has a problem.
No, you're saying you noticed the link between these in-group fightings in the Middle East and what happened right after the Prophet died?
Not what happened right when the Prophet died, but what happened in between the Shia and the Sunni, the first, and the Khawarij, by the way, in the
Mhm.
same time when the Shia and the Islamic school when they started to be there, there was the Shia and the Sunni and the Khawarij. And you know who are the Khawarij?
Yeah,
The
yeah.
Khawarij was the ISIS.
Mhm,
ISIS was always there
mhm.
in just other names. So it's just how history repeats himself, and it's like, yeah, it's not. If you read the history, you will not find it strange to see these kind of wars.
Mhm.
But because maybe the idea itself it's somehow problematic.
Well, someone was asking this. Muslim one is saying, so you think fighting this infighting disproves Islam? What do you think?
How this proves?
Like, did you think all of this infighting for sure, like this is proof that Islam is false? Is that what you thought?
I can't say it's false or it's true. It's a historical event.
Hmm.
And if it, in my point of view, if it would be the perfect idea, it will not. Maybe it's afterward. It could be human beings are human beings and all
Hmm.
fight with each other. But when it's directly, you can recognize that maybe the idea itself has something like can't go peacefully, can't be peaceful.
Well, I want to mention something. So it is true that in human nature and a lot of other civilizations, people were still fighting with each other. But I would, it doesn't prove that Islam is wrong just because people are fighting about Islam. But in my mind, at least, it proves that Islam is not able to make this problem better. If anything, it might make it worse. Right? So,
Yes,
like,
yeah,
I would expect Islam to fix all of these, as people call them, cultural issues or societal issues and so on, not to make them worse or not fix them at all.
yeah,
Um,
could be
and
like this. And
I want to
also,
clarify something.
please.
The Battle of Hattin, this Muslim one is pointing out correctly. It was between Crusaders and Muslims. I don't
The
remember.
Sufin. I
Sufin.
maybe
Okay,
I spelled
yeah,
spelled it wrong. It's معركة Sufin.
Sufin. Yeah, thank you for clarifying.
Yeah, thank you for correcting the one who corrected.
Yeah. Hmm.
So then I just thought after hearing a lot and reading fatwas and reading, it's very hard to have peace. Why? Because it's very hard inside the Islam so that the differences to be tolerated. Why? Because من بدل دينه فاقتلوه.
Who changes his religion, kill him. That's the hadith.
and
Okay.
and also the one who denies something to be known that it's from the religion is kafir.
So you commit kufr not by disbelieving in Allah only, but even if you deny some things that others around you believe is from Allah.
Yes. So this it's very hard to correct and criticize an idea and to make it better when it's surrounded with fear.
Hmm.
So,
Yeah, I think this holds back Islam and the Muslim world from progress
yeah, I
because,
think too.
yeah, you can't challenge these ideas. Just like people couldn't challenge Bashar al Assad, you were talking about a political
Yeah,
system. This is, in a way, it's kind of a political system. Yeah.
yeah, somehow and this how all will consider each other kafir,
Hmm.
and they can't live like peacefully together because everyone wants the real Islam which he think to be there and to finish the other versions of Islam.
Hmm. And to be clear, people people might think, oh, that's only a problem in like specific countries like Syria or Iran. But the thing is, it seems to be a problem where the two, like, or where these sects exist. It's not a problem in other countries because when the sect is small, they're like pushed away or silenced, and that's it. It's not
Yeah,
an ongoing conflict. But when
yeah,
there's, bigger numbers, that's where the conflict happens. So it seems to always correlate with, if there's enough of a presence of both sects
yeah, yeah.
or more
And
sects. Mhm.
it's exactly what was I also asked myself, why is this is just suddenly appeared in front of our
Oh,
eyes.
you mean ISIS? Yeah.
ISIS.
Yeah.
It was the soil
The ingredients for it was there.
was there, and from 1.6 billion Muslim, it's very easy to find 1,000 with some psychological problems will will say, yes, you are right. And you can just let them blindly
Hmm.
follow you.
Do you think that all of those, like all of those people who join those groups, um, are psychologically disturbed?
No, no, no. First of all, Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi has a PhD in Islamic studies, in Islamic law.
It's not only like
He's
unintelligent
not
or
stupid.
crazy people.
No, no, no. He's not stupid. And also, one other factor, I think that you have a lot of stress being surrounded by fitna, surrounded by halal, and you are not able to live with this anymore.
But surrounded by
You,
haram, you mean, right?
yeah, by
Yeah.
haram and fitna, dunya, these evil things, you want to go to somewhere with you can make society.
Hmm.
And maybe some of them are good people, but the ideology is toxic.
Hmm. That's something to clarify, because people always presume that it's only like there's this kind of person in each society, the crazy or messed up person, but that's not. First of all, what unites them in these cases is religion. So in
Yeah,
other societies, they may have not made a group, or found something shared to
yeah,
rally behind, and also they join, like other intelligent people join as well.
yeah. And the problem is that you have the guideline there. If you say something is not good, you are not a Muslim. You are denying something.
Hmm.
Because one time I remember I watched an interview with some ISIS ex-members. They were in Iraq, or and they were told to take the Yazidi woman as a slave woman, as sex slaves. Some of them didn't want, but then they told them, no, it's Prophet did this. It's
Some of the
existed
men
in the
didn't want to do
Quran.
it, right?
Yeah, they didn't want to do
Okay.
it because they are normal people. Any human being has something inside him which say don't hurt the other people.
Mm.
Don't hurt anyone.
You know,
But they
the
were,
Sahaba
yeah,
said that too, and or in a more specific case, they didn't want to take concubines from the married women, but
yeah,
the Prophet allowed it in a verse.
yeah, in Sabaya Autas.
Yeah.
This is Sabaya Autas story.
Hmm. That's it's that makes me sad, because a lot of good people are dragged into this.
Yeah, yes. And just having the idea of we will like when the communists had the idea of the paradise on earth. It's like this. We will have the perfect Islamic state. We will make peace in the world. We'll give the best thing to the others, and the guidelines are corrupted. The manners that you should agree that those are good manners. It's like they are from the 7th century.
Hmm. It's not like they are from the 7th century. Yeah.
And it's how can we bring them now? It's crazy to to go with the time backward instead of going forward.
I want to address one more comment, and the reason why I address them is not because I feel like we have to, but because it's a good point to get other Muslims who think like this to hear our point here. Strictly YouTube is saying, we don't blame the CIA funding ISIS on American people, illogical, yet she blames Islam on ISIS.
So no,
Um,
no, I don't deny anything. I want to say to tell him that I don't say that America didn't fund them. I'm
mhm.
not saying that anyone is innocent, but could they? But the idea they saw a good soil.
They saw potential for this conflict,
Yeah,
as in the US saw potential, according to what you're
exactly.
saying.
And the USA is not good. No, they made many crimes, and I don't say they are angels, not at all.
Yeah, they always presume that we have to
Yeah,
pick sides here
and
when
I
the
blame them.
victims are Muslims.
No, I blame them. They are liars.
Mhm.
So,
So yeah, thank you for clarifying that.
Yeah.
Hmm. So we I'm not sure how we got on this. We were talking about you being exposed to kuffar when you immigrated,
Yeah.
and like was the war on your mind at the time?
Yeah, always, always, until now.
How much of it, like how much of it is because you experienced it, and how much of it is just empathy towards people's situation?
It's more empathy because I was relatively in a safe area,
Hmm.
but I saw the suffering with my eyes.
I'm really sorry to hear about that, and
Yeah,
I
this
can
is the
understand
reality.
the.
It's existed. It's
Mhm.
existed. If we don't talk about it, it will not disappear.
Yeah.
So this way, I came from a group to a bigger group to a bigger group to a bigger group. Then I couldn't anymore just believe the idea that I am the good one. I deserve to go to the paradise, and the others deserve to go to the hell. I couldn't stand this idea anymore, and I couldn't believe it anymore. I tried just to deny it, but I I couldn't pray.
Hmm. You felt, why couldn't you pray?
I felt a way, like somehow trying to not let the ideas out, but it's just out. I'm trying to
Did
say
you
it's
want
good,
to
it's
think
good.
that way? Like, did you want to not pray, or did you want to be conflicted about this?
No, no, I wanted to just complete my life peacefully. I didn't want big changes, but I couldn't.
Mhm.
Then I read in the Quran that they will not be a real believer until they tell you, judge between us, and then they accept from their heart this judgment, and they, yeah, just give. And I couldn't accept from my heart these kind of judgments. So I'm not a believer anymore. And we, when we also saw this ISIS make throwing people out of buildings, then I checked, and it was this kind from Islam. I was shocked. As no, no, it couldn't be. Then it, I had a
I
shock
Yeah.
after a shock after a shock, and then it's no.
I went through the same thing, but it didn't really make me disbelieve Islam. But I was one of the people going on like Facebook and commenting like under news stories, guys, this is not real Islam. Muslims are
Yeah,
not like this. There cannot be 1.4 billion terrorists in the world and all that
yeah,
stuff. I was
yeah,
saying that.
yeah. And then you watch the discussions between believers and Muslims and ex-Muslims, and the like Abdullah Rushdie, like these kind of people who try to defend the things, and you have another shock. No,
Yeah, they defend the
you're
awful
looking.
things. They're not just saying it's not real Islam. They're, that they're defending it, but in a different situation or something, right?
Yeah, yeah. It's like it's like then you feel really the Prophet did this. I used to love him, so I
Hmm.
can't love him anymore. And then one time I read another story about another Sahabi, I can't remember who in the Hurub al-Ridda, the apostasy wars, killed a man and slept with his wife in the same day. So how? So
That's Muhammad, right?
no, one of the Sahaba. It was not
I
Muhammad.
I
No,
thought it was Muhammad who had done that. Safiya?
maybe also no, no,
Are you thinking of a different instance then?
in the Ridda, Hurub al-Ridda.
Okay, okay, yeah, sorry, not Sabah al-Tas, or another one.
No,
Okay, never mind.
no, no.
Okay.
After the death of the Prophet. It was also shocking. Those are the best people in the world. So then I thought, would my brother do it? I
Mhm.
couldn't ever, never, ever imagine my brother doing this. So no, my brother is better than this man.
Mhm.
They can't be the best people on earth.
Mhm.
So like this, and like all of these stories, like shocking shock after shock, and then it remains just the miraculous Quran, the scientific miracles in the Quran, which Zakir Naik used always to say, and we just yeah, used to find them, wow, wow, this can't be, just from God will come. And then when it collapsed, there is no reason to believe like this when everything just collapsed. This is
How
just
long did that process take?
years, years,
Years.
because I didn't want to believe that what I believed all my life to be the best thing, the absolute goodness, is not.
How did that
So
feel when you? I mean, you were obviously scared to consider that possibility, but
yeah,
against your choice, you just kept thinking about it. And how did it feel when you finally realized it?
yeah, you feel like fooled. Or am I fooled all my life? It's just really, they are all liars. Why didn't they tell me? Why didn't they tell me the both truth, everything like it is? Why no one told me the real history?
Hmm.
It's like, and I to be honest, I lost the trust in everything. I,
Everything Islam related, or like everything? What do you mean by everything?
uh, when I hear any word now, I should, before I consider that this is right, this is authentic, I go and search myself.
So you become more skeptical in general.
Yeah, yeah.
That's a good thing. But do you think it's has it gotten to a point where you're too skeptical, as in you're overthinking things and worried about it, or is it just a healthy amount of skepticism?
I like it.
Yeah, yeah, I agree
I
with
like
that.
it. I
Yeah.
and I can't be not like it, like this.
Mhm. And did you put the did you feel any blame, or did you start assigning blame in your head? Did you if yes, did you assign the blame to people around you, or to Islam, or to the Prophet, or to yourself for being fooled? Like, how did you feel about that?
So first of all, yeah, I blamed everyone, every teacher in the mosque of not telling me, and then I thought that maybe she also didn't know.
Hmm.
Why do I suppose that she's good? She is doing something she think is good, and she's nice, and she's maybe honest.
So
So I don't
you didn't
blame
hate
them.
them, did you?
I don't hate them, but I try my best not to meet them anymore, because it will consume my energy.
Hmm. Did
But
you
I
ever
hate.
feel like you were like, because some people will try to misuse your words and say you stopped believing because you were angry at Allah or something. Is that how you felt?
Disappointed. I felt disappointed, not angry, but disappointed. Oh, it does not. It couldn't match the perfection, the image I had.
Hmm.
I had a very beautiful image. I wanted to be very beautiful, but it couldn't match. It didn't match when I read the history.
I know exactly how you feel. Like, let me put it in other words for myself. I ex- I held Allah and Islam to higher standards than Islam did.
Yeah, yeah.
Like,
And
I
I
thought
think
too
that this
highly of Allah.
generation, yeah,
Yeah.
and we are not alone. I think the majority of Muslims, the nice Muslim, the nice people, we our friends, our families, they did the same, and they still think the same.
Because they haven't actually been exposed to the rest of the teachings.
Yeah, and it's very hard to believe that what you believed is wrong. So I can understand them. They don't want to believe that everything was wrong.
Hmm.
I understand them. I can't blame them.
Do you feel angry? Like, was there any anger inside you, or like, I'm trying to relate the experience to some other Muslims, for example, who didn't know what to do with this confusion because they saw two different versions and everyone around them believes in the nice version, sort of. Um, did you feel anger at all, or did you feel angry at all at Islam in general, or do you hate Islam?
For one moment, I just felt it's very strange. Then I thought, but it's now we are in the 21st century, and many people before lived in a. They used to live more wild, and they used to be more hard than us. If I if I can't now consider that Islam is the absolute evilness. No, it has many good sides, and but if just in case we see it as a just era in the world, just time in the world,
You see
kind
Islam
of
today as
civilization,
today, or back in the 7th century?
backward, backward,
Okay.
and we should now just try to think more critical and to go forward, not to hate it, but just to accept it as a non-perfect thing, as not as a religion, as ideology
Hmm.
fitting to the Middle Ages.
I feel the same way. I mean, it's hard for some people not to detest or hate the ideology today because it's causing harm today. But it's a very good way to think about it, as it was a development phase, in
Yeah,
civilization, and we
yeah,
should move past it.
yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah. What's going on in your mind right now? How do you feel? Take a moment to think. How do you feel?
I feel sorry that I should believe in something, believe that we should not believe this way, but not being able to to just throw it backward.
How do you feel about having spoken about this now?
I feel so. I wish if I could give an image, a real image, a little bit honest, not very negative, not very dark, and not very bright, to
Not
show.
very sugar coated, or yeah. Okay.
Yeah, just I wish if I maybe I couldn't, because I'm just a human being. We can't be 100% objective. So, but if I could give the others an image, an honest image, so I'm satisfied. It's good.
Hmm. I'm glad that you're already doing that. I'm not sure if you realize it, but you're already doing that. What you want,
I
what
hope.
you hope to do.
I hope.
Hmm. Well, do you? I still have some questions that I might keep towards the end, about the hijab, and because in the beginning, like, I didn't want to interrupt, the ideas that you were bringing forward. So I might talk about that later. Is there
Please.
anything else you want to talk about before I get to some comments? And obviously you're going to be answering some comments, and feel free to talk about whatever you want. Um, can we start doing that now?
Yeah, 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 sure.
Okay. All right. So I put some comments aside from earlier. Let's see. Yeah, we're getting a lot of people saying, I'm also an ex-Muslim, and I appreciate you guys giving me a voice through your activism. Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you, Jamal, and
Thank you.
obviously thank you to Luna for being here and sharing her story. Let's see the next comment. Okay, so you were talking about the weddings and how men and women have separate weddings, and that's similar in many parts of the Middle East and Southeast Asia. Asia, I think. the person was saying, does the newlywed man, the groom, have to show up at the women's wedding and vice versa?
Yeah, so at the end of the wedding, all women cover up, and then just the groom come into the wedding and dance a little bit with his future wife,
Hmm.
and just make some videos, some cakes together, eating cake together,
Hmm.
and that's it.
And then, so they both appear in both men and women's weddings?
No, no, but just in the woman's wedding, at the end, the groom comes to the
Okay.
bride after the woman cover up, and they finish their dancing. They
Hmm.
can come, and he comes most probably alone
Okay. And they
to
just
join.
take photos, just him and her in the wedding venue?
Yeah, they dance a little bit. They take photos. They eat cakes,
So
and
it's okay
that's
for the
it.
women to see him dancing with his wife?
Yeah.
Okay. They don't have impure thoughts about him?
And no, but the funny thing that because in many situations no mixed men and women, so in the weddings the mothers are looking always for a bride for their sons.
Hmm.
So you
Yeah.
should make your best to show yourselves to the other mothers so that they can ask for your hand.
Hmm. Yeah. Makes
It's
sense.
funny.
Um, and then here's a comment, Princess Moana saying, her life experience shows us a glimpse into a world so different from ours, where we take the littlest things for granted living here in the West. Yeah, a lot of people who, Muslims or not, they don't realize how, like everything you're describing, obviously not the parts that have to do with women, I can't relate to as much. But everything else, a lot of Muslims feel on a smaller scale or maybe a bigger scale. Um, and a lot of little things like feeling guilty about, this minor sin or that minor sin or something makruh.
Yeah,
People take for granted how simple their lives are without Islam
you
or
really.
without like religious groups like these in general. Sorry, my cat is stepping on
Yeah.
the
It's no
keyboard.
problem.
Hey, say hi. That's Apu, everybody. Apu says hi. Anyway, all right. Next comment is saying, "Stop scamming, man." Thank you for the super chat. Um, that the Middle East saw a generational shift in how women dress is looking and awful, a lot less organic in light of what Luna is telling us. Wait, I'm not quite understanding what shift or which time. Do you remember a time when, like, did you see religiousness becoming more common at some point,
Yeah.
or yeah?
So I saw the photos of my grandmother. My grandmother, when she was young, she used to wear like a little bit short skirt, covers the knee, and she
Wait,
used
sorry,
to show
covers the knee
her
and you're calling it a short skirt?
relatively
Yeah.
to my skirt. It's much shorter than
Hmm.
my skirt,
Yeah, I'm
and
I'm
she used
picking up
to
on
wear
things like
pants.
that because I think even after you've left this environment, there's a lot that still remains with you, right?
Yeah,
Like the way that you describe things, like calling this a short skirt, for example. I want to clarify to people, and this is not criticizing you in any way. I just want to clarify to people how different the world is, the world that you live in, or lived in, and how much of an effect it still has on you. Um, so yeah, okay, your grandmother would wear a skirt that's past her knee, but it would be showing some of her shin then, right?
yeah, and her half sleeves. I remember one photo of her, and then wearing a headscarf with with her hair. Her hair was shown
Hmm.
a little bit. It's not very tight like what we do. We
So
make
hijab,
many
but just a little
layers.
bit of hair in the front.
Yeah, yeah,
You
it
know
was easy.
that used to bother me. So I was religious, but I wasn't the kind to go around and like tell women to dress better or anything like that. But like between me and my friends, I would say something like, and that's me in my teenage years. I would say something like, "She's gonna wear the hijab. Just wear it properly. Like, what are you doing? You're
Yeah,
disrespecting the hijab." That's what I
yeah. I
thought.
used to say the same also.
Yeah. And I wasn't even the kind to go around and be like, "Hey, like sister, I'm only advising you cover up your hair." How do you feel about those men?
So, so I
Well, I guess
used to do the
women as well.
same. I
Yeah.
used to do the same when I was a very religious person. I
Mm-hmm.
just feel sorry that they are themselves annoyed
Mm-hmm.
of that the other one is making sin and he will go to the hell because of this. I just
Mm-hmm.
feel sorry for them.
Yeah, I felt that way. I mean, part of it was me being offended, like you're disrespecting this religious symbol that Allah has, ordered, and part of me was feeling like you're not doing it right. You're still gonna like you're still sinning. I don't want you to be in that position. So
Yeah,
it's not always just like harsh judgment and being micromanaging other people's lives because it's fun or something. But yeah.
yeah.
And sorry to bring you back to what you were saying. Your grandma was wearing a short skirt that was a little past the knees, and
Yeah, and they used
and
in the end of the year they used to have a party and they used to be cool.
like a
And
party, like a
then
mixed party.
yeah, and all the family comes in and they have a tree,
Oh,
Christmas
you're talking
tree.
about because when you say party, people think like, oh, club dancing,
No, no, not this
drinks. You're talking about
party.
a family party,
Yeah, a family party.
like a
But
cookout get together kind of thing.
yeah, but nowadays in the Islamic world, when they see a Christmas tree, it's annoying for them. It's no, don't celebrate the Christians' Eid. It's not our Eid, but they in my grandfather's time they used to celebrate it, and no one used to be annoyed of this. But slowly, slowly, I don't know how does it came like this, like an attack. And even then we couldn't join a real family inside the family. We were a little bit not very friends. I was not friend with my cousins, the male cousins.
Hmm.
They were told not to talk to us a lot and we were told the same thing, so we had always like it was not comfortable.
Hmm. Because they can be your husband in the future, right? Because they're eligible to be attracted to you and marry you, right?
Yeah,
They're not mahram, like they're yeah.
yeah,
Wow. So so your grandmother used to live in those times,
yeah,
and
the nice
now they
times.
gradually changed. Yeah.
Yeah, but now people are going back.
They're
Also, you
returning
feel
back.
that,
Yeah.
yeah, much less women wears the Islamic clothes, the proper hijab is not
Wait,
very
see again,
now.
you're
Yeah,
using Islamic language, the
yeah, the
proper
proper,
way. So
the
yeah,
virtual, uh,
like the other way is improper and
yeah,
immodest.
in
Yeah.
the according to the Islamic standard.
Mm-hmm.
They still like cover their hair just to be socially accepted and to have in the future to be able to get married,
Mm-hmm.
but they don't want to be committed to the fully version.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's a question that I had is, well, two things. Um, this commenter is saying, Mr. Okay, I don't want to read that name, but he's saying it is very dangerous to be a murtad in that society. Can you tell us if you noticed any apostates or people who were very clearly not adhering to anything in Islam anymore? And what kind of tension was between religious people and mildly religious people and
Mm.
everyone and apostates?
Yeah, so before I one of my family was like clearly not Muslim. He did not want any to do any to be a Muslim. He hated the Prophet. He hated everything.
Hmm.
Uh,
And he was open about it, like within the family or in his life,
yeah, he was open about it. Like,
in his life everywhere.
yeah,
Okay.
and all people didn't want to talk to him. But
Yeah.
he was also at the same time not very polite. He didn't.
Yeah. I
Yeah, he used to
wonder.
always to make
I
fun
mean,
and
I wonder that. So I've seen this mentality from ex-Muslims, especially the ones, or not all of them, obviously, and not even the majority, but especially the ones that are more motivated to be vocal. It's usually because they feel like they weren't able to, and the more that people push them away and ostracize them, the more they're like, well, why wouldn't I want to offend you? Like,
yeah,
you already hate me, you already make me seem to be a bad person. I'm gonna do it in like anyway, since I'm already being seen as that bad person, which is not healthy for you, like for someone to behave that way. But I understand where it's coming from.
yeah.
Yeah. So what was life like for him, and what ended up happening like to him?
Yeah, he ended up that his children didn't like him. His
Oh,
wife also, like, they were almost separated, and no one used to like him. Although he was a very good person. He was honest. He was, but yeah,
but it was only that um like that he was rude about religion.
yeah, yeah. But he also he like he saw very bad behaviors from religious people around him. He was offended many times, and they cheated him, and so that he became like this
Mhm.
provocating.
I'm not sure, to be honest, what kind of person I would have become if I wasn't in the environment I'm in now. I mean, I had all the same thoughts, like all these doubts or questions, even not before there were doubts, all these issues that I saw in Islam before I even dug into um, all the details that you found after, or in the process of leaving Islam. All of that, I feel like if I was still trapped in that environment, I would have been pushed more and more to take the frustration out somewhere else. And
Yeah,
sometimes it comes out as, being extra rude about religion, and seeing everyone as Islam, when
yeah,
in reality, like I'm talking for myself here, the reason why I don't hate Muslims and I don't see them as I don't demonize them, um, is because they're not actually, like, they're better than Islam. If they were
yeah,
actually following Islam
yeah,
to the letter, not even the
yeah,
extremist versions, just like
yeah,
even the moderates don't really always know Islam, and
yeah,
that's why I think they're better than Islam. They're just humans, and that's why they
yeah.
project their idea of this perfect God and a very nice version. That's because it's coming from them. It's coming from their humanity.
Yes, yes, exactly. And I say, if Syrian people, from my experience, are very nice people and very civilized. The problem is, the biggest problem is the Islam, is the
Hmm.
Islamic groups and associations, and like it's like Syria and Iraq are the mothers of civilization. If you don't know, the Latin letters come from the Phoenician alphabet. Even the Latin, the English letter, yeah,
Hmm.
we produced it to the world.
Hmm.
And then now we are backward.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Do you think it's? I mean, obviously, there's always a lot of factors and
yeah.
how society changes, but you see
Mm.
Islam as one of those contributing factors.
Because yeah, yeah, yeah. One of the factors, yes, is Islam.
Hmm.
Before, some years before, I used to say because they didn't know the true Islam. Now I can say I believe it's one of the factors, yeah.
Hmm.
Because now if you just see how many money, how many time, how much money, how many time, how many people are just there to defend uh, that the evolution theory is wrong,
Hmm.
you can have an idea why we are here.
Hmm.
The resources are used to prove some fact in an ancient book, not to go and observe the nature.
You mean a lot of money spent on research to disprove or defend against evolution?
Money, time, efforts, just stress.
Hmm.
It's not to less the time in your life that you use just to make sure every small detail is good, your prayer is good, your the people are evil outside. It needs time, it needs effort.
Like the mental drain that it takes from you. You have less time to read other books. You have less
Yeah,
time to think about other things.
yeah,
Like there's a lot of debate, and sometimes it's on national television about the silliest things in Islam. Um, and there are fatwas about, like, the simplest example I can think of is which foot to use to enter the washroom. And people spend time, like all of these people who are into research and studying, and they have a passion that could have been a different passion, like maybe
Exactly.
science oriented, or social science oriented. So Oh, and I want to get your thoughts on this because I keep hearing it a lot. Though the commenter is very dismissive already, he's saying, "You guys seriously ignoring the Islamic Golden Age, which included other faiths and even the secular."
No,
What
not
do
at
what do you think
all.
about the Islamic Golden Age?
It is a golden age.
Hmm. But
But at the
what do you
same
think about? Yeah,
time,
go ahead.
Ibn Sina was called Kafir. Al-Farabi, the ulama, the great people we admire, were fighted at the time. Were not very
As
admired
heretics,
from
as
the
hmm
traditional Islamists.
okay. Do you think
But
it's
I can't
because
deny it.
the others that didn't understand Islam properly? Is that why they were demonized?
They didn't fit to the standard.
Hmm. No, but do you think, because again, Muslims would probably say that's because the people who demonize them, who attack them, they're not perfect, they're not good Muslims, it's not real Islam.
You will hear it all the time. Yeah.
If it keeps happening in every era, like in
Yeah.
every
Yeah,
generation,
yeah. Always, always
nothing is
there.
real Islam. Yeah.
Yeah, but we can't deny it. There is a golden age in the Islamic history and in the Christian history also. But
Hmm.
it was in the past. Now the scientific, the science does not fit anymore with something. You can't begin with a result. Now
Hmm.
every religious person wants to begin from the result to prove that the Quran is right.
From the conclusion,
The,
yeah, yeah.
yeah, from the conclusion, the
Hmm.
scientific way of thinking, you go end with the conclusion. You don't begin
Hmm.
with it.
Do you think the Islamic golden age, or you said even the Christianity had a golden age, do you think it has to do um, with the religion itself? Like, why is it called the Islamic golden age?
Because the culture was Islamic. But it was not. I don't think that it was really a religious state because it was like kingdom.
Hmm.
Umayyad country, Umayyad kingdom, Abbasi kingdom. It was not fully Islamic.
Hmm.
And many khalifa were you can say secular, and especially in the Andalus were
Hmm.
liberal, more liberal
Well,
in the
it's
golden age.
interesting. Uh, the commenter had said that. Wait, let me find the comment again, because they said um, included other faiths and even the secular in an Islamic state. Is that possible? Like, how could secularism and an Islamic state? And by the way, an Islamic state, when we say that, people think of ISIS, for example. But no, an Islamic state is, as in like a state ruled by Islam. That is the ultimate goal, right? That is the ultimate
Yes.
society, the best society according to Islam. And it doesn't necessarily, like, we're not talking about what's happening today. We're just saying in general it has to be an Islamic state. So how can that and secularism exist at the same time?
So I think that when every civilization they start with a very extremist ideas, the fighters start the country, but then it's not in the hand of the extremists anymore. It's known that the Khalifa al-Ma'mun was liberal man, was not very traditional. So the environment of being not very religious oriented societies
Mhm.
led to the scientific, yeah, the
So
golden age.
you think it happened in spite of Islam, like even though there was Islam, rather than Islam made it happen?
I think that the stability and the safety at that time
Hmm.
made it happen, but it was somehow affected with a flavor of some Islamic principles. I can't deny it at all,
Hmm.
but it was not very traditional Islamic. Yes, when the very traditional Muslim had to rule, I don't think that they really had this luxury of Ibn Sina and Razi.
Hmm. That makes sense. All right, let me read some more comments. HR, thank you for the support. Same here, Ultra, thank you for the support. They were saying, I don't remember what this comment was from, to be honest. G block. Oh, it was about a rude commenter. They were telling me to block him. Sometimes I like to highlight rude comments either because they're so bad we have to shame them, or more like we have to point out the mistake in them so that other people who think that way learn from like at least our answer to that. But also if they feel ashamed by it, sometimes that's good, because you should feel shame about bad beliefs. Another one, honestly, like if you're too afraid to feel ashamed of what you currently believe, then you're not going to change it. So having that little bit of humility and self-reflection is a good thing.
Yeah.
Stop Scamming Man, again, thanks for the super chat. They're saying, would this be their outlook if Muslim women were under the same pressure to be liberal and Western? So they were talking about when, like how these Islamic groups would pressure little girls from schools to join, and or especially like the smart, the ones who are ahead in class, the more disciplined ones. I think the commenter is asking the other side, if Muslims felt like they were being pressured to be liberal and Western, is that similar? Like, what does liberal and Western mean?
So I think maybe he means that when Muslim women live in the Western country, they feel the pressure to take out the hijab, for example.
Mhm.
So maybe he's asking like this. He means this. I don't know what.
Okay. Well, do you think it's similar? Do you think that do you think that women are pressured to the same degree, like in the West, for example, to take off their hijab? And if so, like who's pressure, or what are the sources of pressure?
In maybe there is pressure, I think, but it's not the same way. What I saw that many Western people, Europeans I was in contact with, they are open-minded and they accept it. But it's hard to find a job, for example.
Hmm.
The Muslim woman who wears hijab, but many finds, but it's hard. It's less possible that she can find a good job.
So why do you think that happens?
Yeah, because
I mean,
it's
not
not
necessarily that.
welcomed.
Yeah, like I'm asking you because you have more like experience in the real world than I do about this as a woman, a hijabi woman who's also in Europe. What do you think? Have you heard from the Europeans or from other hijabi women why they would rather, for example, not hire a hijabi woman?
They don't say it exactly, but they don't call the woman with hijab. But I can understand that they don't want to encourage hijab culture in their
Hmm.
country. And to be honest, somehow I can somehow agree. I don't agree that you should force anyone to do anything, because always forcing make the opposite.
Hmm.
But yeah, they are afraid that their woman one day need to do it.
Hmm. You think like they're afraid that hijabi women would convince other women around them to wear the hijab?
That the culture will be spread around.
That it would be more seen as a good thing?
Yeah, and the non-hijabi woman would be seen as the one who wants the others to look, and who wants to be fitna to the other guys, and who want to
Oh, so that like the
spread
normals for morality is that the non-hijabis would be seen as lesser,
yeah.
and they don't want to see that happen.
Maybe. I guess. I don't know, but I guess. And also, there's another factor. I think many people in Europe or America, they think that she's forced to wear it.
Hmm.
Any hijabi one is forced, and they want to be with her, to not others, not let the others, the man forcing her. And it's
That,
in many
mhm.
cases, it's right. Many women are forced
That's
directly
so
or
interesting
indirectly.
because when Westerners want to support, they either, I mean, some of them support blindly. Like for example, there's something called a World Hijab Day or something,
Yeah.
where like white women would go to these like stands or booths, and they would put on the hijab to show support and things like that. And on the other side, there's a lot of people who oppose it very strictly.
Yeah.
Um, what do you think is the best approach to deal with this? Like to support those women who choose it, and sorry, I have a lot of questions. To support the women who choose it, and to support the women who didn't choose it. And do you think the women who chose it, like, do you think that was a fair choice that they got to make, or do you think they were pressured or indoctrinated into it?
I really
I
don't
know,
know.
I know
I
that's
really don't know.
difficult, but yeah,
I can't say, but they have the right to be afraid about their culture from like invading.
you're saying Europeans have the right to be afraid that their culture is going to be changed by like the
Yeah,
hijab culture.
by Middle Eastern, by Arab immigrants.
Hmm. Do you see
And
that happening? Do you see Arab immigrants? I know this is not. I mean, do you think this is related to Islam? And also, like, do you see them changing things or affecting the culture?
I can't say because I didn't see everything. I
Hmm.
saw in some places good and nice people, but I saw also in other places, big cities who had a lot of immigrants. You can say you can see look at guys flirting women in the street like in
Hmm.
our countries,
Hmm.
and this is yeah, it's strange.
So you're saying you see more of the Arab or Muslim guys usually, um, like catcalling women and
Yeah,
harassing them like they do
yeah,
back home.
yeah.
Hmm.
But not all. There are
Yeah,
many very
yeah.
respectful guys. I can, they
I
are
I've
my
met
family.
Syrian refugees myself. I have, and there's one I really wish him well. He's a nice guy in his 40s with his family, and his English was very weak, so I was helping him translate some things, and um, I noticed some mentality that was very like tied to back home, and
Mm,
it's difficult because he's not the kind who's like going around catcalling and stuff, but of course he is a little sexist. Of course, there's a little bit of things here and there,
mm,
and it's hard to dislike them. Not that I'm trying to. So I really understand where you're coming from, or why you're trying to be so careful in this description.
yeah. And this culture of yeah not letting the girl join the swimming class, it will be accepted, and this yeah, cultural changing.
Hmm. And what do you think? Do you you say you understand where, like, why the Europeans feel that way. How do you feel about this whole thing? Do you think the European culture is affected? How does it affect you?
So it affects me. It's funny because I'm seen from both sides, not what I am. So the Europeans see me as a conservative person, and they don't like me because of this.
You
And the
wear the hijab?
Muslim, yeah,
Hmm.
and Muslims also see me like yeah, if they like me, they like me because just because I wear the hijab
Oh,
and
like there's
I
some
keep
kind
the
of like
traditions.
brother sisterhood, like a
Yeah,
community thing. Okay,
yeah.
okay.
I don't feel that I'm really my real personality inside me is loved somehow.
Mm. That's
Yeah,
so difficult. Again, I relate to a lot of what you're saying, and that's not me saying, me too, as in trying to discount what you went through. But I feel the same way in a lot of ways, and it's difficult for us to assimilate in either environment. Like we feel like we, or some of us feel like they don't belong in either environment. And I might be more familiar with how people treat open ex-Muslims, because I don't think you're openly an ex-Muslim, right?
yeah,
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 you're
you're
not.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Um, I noticed that a lot of Muslims try to emotionally blackmail us by saying things like, I saw someone in the comments saying,
Yeah.
basically, you're doing this to be accepted in the West. That's why you're leaving Islam, or you're not going to belong in the West. You're not going to belong with us. It's very, I think that is very insidious and hurtful. Do you ever worry about that?
Yes, to be honest, yeah. If
Mhm.
I if I say just no, I don't care about the other, it's just a lie. We
Mhm.
are human beings. We like to be loved, and
Mhm.
especially by our people, our group. We don't like to be like the bad ones or just, yeah,
See, you're still thinking of it as the
outside
bad ones, the outsiders.
in the eyes of the others. I mean,
Hmm.
we don't want to feel like to see this kind of looks toward us as you are the bad one. You are just the cheat. You cheated us.
And you mean both sides, right? Like you mean,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah. It's difficult, and I think that's why some people would remain in their group or would go completely the other way.
yeah,
And there's nothing wrong with, like, let me tell you this: if someone feels more at home, um, like adhering to even more cultural norms in the West and so on, as long as it's not harming you, or even if they want to separate from their old identity or culture, I don't blame them for that, and I understand why they want to
mhm,
do that, and I also
yeah,
understand why you'd want to stick to your own culture against
mhm,
your own will, even because you don't
yeah,
want to be, untethered like that.
yeah, yeah.
It's difficult being in between, sort of.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
even for I tell the ones who say you want to be accepted in the West, Yeah, yeah, yeah. We wanted to be accepted in the West everywhere.
Mhm. But is
Why
that
you as a
what made
man?
you leave Islam? Because that's what
No,
they're trying to say. They're trying to say that you left Islam so you can be
no.
accepted in the West because you like them anyway. You like them more than us.
I like them, but I like for sure. If you compare your love toward your mother or your love toward a man walking in the street in Europe,
Hmm.
who do you love more?
Yeah, of course, your own
Your
people.
mother, your mother, your
Hmm.
sister, your friends, your childhood friends. So this is to be honest, it's very unfair toward us. It's very hard. Please,
Hmm.
guys, don't be this hard to. We are just human beings. We are your friends.
Hmm. It's it's. I hope it's more believable for Muslims to hear you say it than when I say it, because they see me as an evil enemy of Islam, enemy of Muslims. So it's easy for them to just say all these things. But I hope they see that I don't hate Muslims, but I stopped trying to really trying to prove it to them. But from everything I hear from you, you don't seem like a hateful person whatsoever, and you don't even seem like someone who goes around mocking like
No,
religion
no,
in general, let
no,
alone
no.
Muslims.
I respect religions. I respect it,
Mhm.
but to
What does
be
that
put
mean
in
to
its
you?
places,
Mhm.
in its place, Islam in its place. I respect it as a civilization, but I
Mhm.
don't want it today
You respect it as
as a
like a
step.
historically,
Yeah,
but
as a step between two eras in the history. I respect it.
do you
With some
respect it?
no I criticize it in some
Mhm.
points, but in general, I respect it if it keeps in its place.
Well, do you respect it today? Because sometimes people understand respect as, for example, if you respect Islam, you will be against Charlie Hebdo drawing the Prophet. Is that the kind of respect you have?
But I respect also the free speech, the freedom of speech.
Okay, interesting. I always like
So
to hear what people think about that.
yeah, it's freedom of speech.
Hmm.
And without this harsh, I can't criticize like this, but somehow this impolite criticism helps people to recognize that it's not very holy what for you is holy. It's not for the others holy.
Hmm.
It's relatively.
I used to think like during the Charlie Hebdo stuff, I had questions and so on, but I about Islam, but I still thought like I was surprised that people were able to do that and not feel like they're gonna burn in hell forever and ever. And even like not too long ago, like a couple of years ago, if I saw
Mm.
someone like being shameless about leaving Islam or making a joke about Muhammad, for example, I would feel like, how are you able to do that? Like, is it true that you can be a normal or good person and not be terrified of this? And it did open my eyes a little bit.
Yeah. I wouldn't insult or make joke myself.
Mhm, mhm,
I would criticize like objectively, but
mhm.
I can't say that they are bad.
That who is bad?
The people who make caricature, who
Mhm,
criticize, who would make jokes. We make the Muslims make the same jokes about the others.
mhm. Well, do you so, you think it's okay because other people, like the other side, does it as well,
No,
or
no,
because okay,
no. But what I think that if you as a Muslim think that it's okay to mock people who worship a cow, who say those people
mhm,
worship a cow and make fun of this,
mhm,
why do you find it strange that other people make jokes about your religion?
yeah, that's fair. It's that double standard, and it's
Yeah,
not just Muslims who feel that way, but
yeah,
I feel like Muslims are very vocal about it. Like they're very
yeah,
entitled. They expect everyone, or not all of them, but there's a loud minority, maybe even majority, that expects other people to, respect Islam in every way.
yeah,
Um,
yes.
and I want to ask you, and please don't feel embarrassed. Like answer very honestly. How much of my videos have you watched, and what do you think in general?
So I watched many, many. The
Was it
talking
more
to
like the
the
live streams or the videos that are like prepared videos?
both. Also
Okay.
the live streams with Adel Ghadban
Okay.
and with the others. And I
Yeah.
really appreciate that you can hold your nerves. And I really bravo, applause.
Thanks.
It's
I
it's
could have
really
done
it's
better
really very
back
good.
then, but it was practice. It was good practice.
It's really nice. So
Thanks.
because he will not be convinced of your point of view, but you give the chance to the viewers to
Mhm.
see.
Yeah, it's not about the I don't see the other person as an opponent, like it's a debate or I'm trying to win or convince them. Just having them express their thoughts and then I tell them
Yeah,
what I think about that is good for everybody.
yeah.
Yeah. So so you've seen my jokes or how I make jokes about Islam. What do you think about that? Does that fall under the obviously you wouldn't be doing that is what you're saying. Um, but what is your criticism of that, or do you have any?
So the jokes I didn't see. I haven't seen yet.
You haven't like
The jokes, the small videos I haven't seen. I saw more the long one, the live streams, the
okay,
see, yeah.
okay. All right. The reason I ask is I always want to know, um, like, obviously, I take into consideration before anything else what I think I'm doing is correct. And I also take feedback. And because I could be wrong, but I'm not doing it to see whatever appeals to people. It's more like, what do I believe is correct? And am I actually correct? Or am I actually doing the right thing? So that's why I ask for this kind of feedback. Um,
I find it nice. I find it good. Yeah, and I respect
well,
it
thank you.
really.
Well, thank you for that. I definitely wasn't fishing for compliments, but yeah, I'm glad to hear what you think. Um, I've got a few more comments that I'll try to go through. Let's see. Princess Moana, thank you for the support. She was saying, "Don't pay that guy no attention." Oh, it was one of the trolls that we had to block eventually. He doesn't want to hear our beautiful sister in humanity exposing this lifestyle,
It's
this
okay.
cult lifestyle.
I'm not annoyed. It's okay.
Yeah. Um, I wanted to quickly mention, have you heard of what occult means? Like this word?
Yeah, I have one time. Yeah, it's
Have
like
you? Okay.
a group of people who has like strange beliefs, strange pattern of belief, or not.
That's how we
correctly.
see them. Usually we hear like of a cult of like people who live in the same community and they do weird things. Um,
Yeah.
but I'm wondering, not necessarily that you have to do research into that, but I'm wondering if you ever come across like a documentary about cults or if you read about them,
It's
because
like طائفة.
yeah, I mean, yeah, the Arabic translation is Ta'ifa Diniya, but that's not how we see Ta'ifa Diniya. Um, and a cult in general, it's like a high control group. So a group where there's a definition for it. I'll make a video about it at some point. But the reason I say this is because I recognized when I left a lot of the things that you were describing are what a cult is. Like it is a yes, and we don't realize that as members of a cult.
Yeah, it's yeah,
Yeah. But
exactly, 100%.
anyway, yeah. A question about: did you interact with Syrian Christian community in Syria?
So I had like colleagues at work, very nice people, yeah, but just a superficial relationship.
Oh, so did you? Was it normal for Muslims and Christians to like be best friends and stuff?
Yeah,
Or
yeah,
okay, just not in your circle, I guess.
yeah. You can get to know, get in this kind of relationships after school, at work more.
Hmm.
When you when you're out of your religious community at work, when you are able in the university and at work to meet the real society, real people.
Not the version that you're taught about
Yeah,
them.
yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you for answering that. Asmahu, thank you for your support. And Airdraft, again, thank you for your support. They're saying Luna doesn't exist. It's just an AI programmed by Apostate Aladdin. Yeah, all the people doubting that you're Syrian and that you're real. Yeah.
A
Let's
copy,
see.
not real.
No.
Copy brand.
Justice Empire is saying, my colleague doesn't want to join us in decent gatherings just by simply sitting, sharing mellow songs, and chilling for some times because she will be scolded by her husband. As in, like a lot of women feel like they can't join other
Yeah,
women groups or mixed groups because people in their life will shame them for it. You described a lot of that going on in Syria, right?
yeah.
Do you see that happening in Muslim communities where you are now?
Sometimes yes,
Yeah.
unfortunately.
Okay. Well, question related to that that I had. Um, how did you feel about the hijab, uh, or how do you feel when you see a hijabi woman now? You are a hijabi woman.
Yeah.
What goes on in your mind when you see both, like a Muslim woman not wearing it, or an ex-Muslim woman, or like a woman who doesn't adhere to Islam anymore, not wearing it, or a hijabi woman?
When I see a non-hijabi woman, I say in my heart, lucky you. You didn't have to
Oh,
go with this
yeah.
all stress, and you don't
I'm
have
sorry to hear
to
that.
just discuss all the time because of just a piece of cloth over your head. You don't have to make wars.
Mhm. Well, how do you feel about? Have you come across any movements in Europe that are pro hijab?
No, not yet.
Okay, not in. I guess they're not as common in Europe then. I feel
Mm,
like people in Europe have a different attitude about it than people in other countries, for example, North American countries. They're a lot more supportive of the hijab and this hijabi movement in North America. So I'm surprised to hear Europe is not, is kind of the
yeah.
opposite, right?
So personally, I haven't seen any personally,
No,
but
okay.
if I would have been, I would have just confront them that I say that you are a liar. Do you support in the same way the woman who is forced to wear it,
Hmm. But
or
they,
you give
yeah.
fatwas that you are irresponsible for your daughter, your wife, your sister, your I don't know.
Hmm.
So are you
They just
really
focus on
honest?
themselves, right? Like they
Yeah,
say, I am not forcing anyone, so I don't have to worry about that.
yeah.
Yeah.
And then when I see the hijabi fashionists, I just feel a little bit strange. I feel that you are seeking the interest, you have YouTube channel, and you have a luxury to choose to wear hijab
Oh, like the
and making
fashionable
it very
hijabi.
good. Yeah,
Yeah, okay.
exactly.
Like the makeup
And
tutorial kind of hijabis and so on.
exactly. And
Yeah.
you have the freedom to do all of this. And then you make marketing for this product, and you forget all the women, and you even say there is no oppression, we
Mhm.
Muslim women wear it because we want. Just be honest and say I do it, but many are forced. Just be
Mhm.
honest, people. Honesty is good, is nice.
No, why do you think they don't say that? Or you don't know?
Either they think that all people have this the same luxury they have,
Mhm.
or maybe they want to make themselves look nice. But I can't judge myself from here, sitting on my sofa. I can't judge.
Mhm.
But yeah,
Oh, thank you for answering that. Um, Unknown is saying, "Bravo, thanks for leaving against all odds." But I want to mention something you said in the beginning, that part of why you left is circumstances, that you had the opportunity to think about these things, and many
yeah,
people don't have that chance.
yeah.
So yeah, it was against odds, but also there was, like, some people can't manage to do it
Yes,
because of these odds. Hmm.
and many smart people are Muslim. Many Muslims are very smart, very
Hmm.
educated, but either maybe they don't have the time to search. It needs a
Hmm.
lot of time.
Hmm.
It's time consuming and needs effort.
Hmm.
And the risk if
Hmm.
you have this decision is very risky.
Hmm. Did you see it as a decision that you had to make, or a conclusion?
Both together, because I could have the conclusion and being lying to myself, saying things that no, Islam is good, or no. I
Hmm.
could keep lying to myself, but I had a decision, at least between me and myself, at least.
Hmm. That's I always try to clarify, because I I used to say things like, when I decided to leave Islam, I realized what I meant was, when I decided to face this conflict inside me, and look even more, and then just I don't know if, like, overcoming the fear, or all of this was a decision for me, but at least getting to that point where I felt like I had to pick something. That was not a decision in my case. Like, it sounds
Mhm.
like you're describing, like, you weren't able to decide the thoughts, but you decided when to leave, right? Or when to,
Yeah,
yeah,
somehow, yeah, it's
yeah.
somehow like this.
I want to point a couple more questions. Okay, King Prince, thank you for the support. He's saying, does Luna feel more safe, secure, and accepted among Muslims as an undercover ex-Muslim, or among Europeans as an immigrant? It's a good question. Or how much exposure do you have to Europeans, like, in your everyday life, compared to Muslims?
Yeah, in my everyday lives, like my colleagues, just just few. I don't have a very big community of Europeans
That's because of being an immigrant.
because of many factors. Yeah, and one of them being an immigrant, and yeah, and simply not joining. You gain friends when you are in school, university, when you have a fixed job, you gain friends,
Hmm.
but otherwise it's hard to get into the society.
Hmm.
But as a undercover Muslim, yeah, I feel accepted from the Muslim, and it's there's something I feel, yeah, I don't like about Muslims, that They either shower you with love or shower you with hatred. If you are with them, they love you a lot. You should go out.
Yeah. So you still feel that showered in love feeling?
Not showered in love, but I feel loved somehow. Yeah,
Hmm. Because you're still a Muslim on the outside.
yeah,
To them, yeah.
yeah. My family
Mhm.
members all ask about me from time to time. My uncles, my aunts, the friends of my mother, the friends of the friends.
So you
Yeah,
feel the normal community like love and care,
yeah,
the
yeah,
normal amount. Uh,
exactly.
yeah. I mean, normal at least for our communities. There's a lot more. They're more tight than European communities.
Mm.
So you still have that, and I'm glad you still have that.
Yeah, but because as under, yes,
Yeah.
because yeah,
So I'm wondering. I hope you're never put in that position, but I'm wondering how you would have felt if you had transitioned, I suppose, to being an ex-Muslim while in your, uh, like in your other communities back in Syria.
it's hard. It will be
Yeah.
very shocking and very painful, and yeah, it's very
Mhm.
painful.
Well, to follow up on King Prince's question, I think he means to ask. Okay, he's saying, don't you think in a way you're safer and more accepted among Europeans because the Muslims would hate you if you were honest about what you believed? As in, does that fear that
Somehow,
of how they would treat you if they knew, does it affect your sense of safety among them?
yeah, somehow,
Mhm.
somehow. But I don't feel like really. I will not be attacked, physically attacked. I
You
don't
mean
think so.
in Europe or in Syria?
From my community, from
Mm.
anywhere in Europe or in Syria, I don't think that I somehow someone will come and attack me
Like
physically.
the males in your family are not like would not be violent towards you that way.
No,
I'm really glad to hear that.
no. But also, you will have the psychological torture.
Hmm. Yeah, people always dismiss that. They think okay, no, nobody in the Muslim families that I know would beat their daughter or their sister, though it happens very often, even in the Western countries. Like these honor killings or whatever keep happening, but there's still that component of psychological torture or
Mm,
emotional blackmailing or
yeah,
yeah, feeling like you have to do it so that you belong, or just directly being shamed about it by women as
yeah.
well, not just men.
And to be honest, by women more than by men,
Yeah,
in my case,
they're they're the
unfortunately.
ones who are exercising this control and
Yeah,
maintaining this level of control.
yeah.
Yeah. And finally, I want to address this comment that we hear very often. If you want to critique Islam, you need to critique Islam. Your own made up interpretations are not Islam, not followed by Muslims. Your claims are irrelevant. Um,
So where is Islam?
what is real Islam?
What is
Um,
real Islam? Are they in the traditional books? I really and honestly I searched in the resources and in the traditional books.
mhm.
And
So
and
it's
also the Islamic
based on.
books they take
Mhm,
it from there. And
mhm.
in the ayah in the Quran which describe uh, fighting the enemies and fighting the non-believers, it's in the Quran.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Well, the way you described it to me, it's not that you described a lot of negative effects of being in that environment, like especially back in Syria, but you didn't. It doesn't seem to me, and correct me if I'm wrong, that you left Islam because of that pressure. If anything, it kept
No,
you in.
no, no. I
It was
left
like the
being very
sources of Islam.
committed. I
Yeah.
left being very committed because of this pressure.
Hmm.
But then leaving Islam because of because because each time I saw ISIS doing something, I googled it to look out if it's really existed or not. Uh, hitting the wife. I looked out and many like in fighting wars stories in the time of the prophet. I googled them all.
Mhm. And they're clarifying this comment was for someone else they were arguing with. Um, so yeah, thank you for clarifying that. But I still want to address that kind of comment because we get it a lot as ex-Muslims, or at least those of us who are talking about Islam. What you were saying wasn't to, like, none of what you were saying here was to disprove Islam, for example, or to come here and show people why Islam is false. You're What you're describing is a very common experience, and
Yeah,
even aside from the hardships that you've faced because of Muslims around you applying Islam to some extremist degree, as some would say, um, there's a lot more in your story that doesn't have to do with that. That's more
yeah,
about, how you felt inside about what's
yeah.
in Islam itself, not the people.
Yes, yes,
Yeah.
and the people, and the people, how they are just a result of many factors. One of the factors is the ideology of the Islam.
Hmm.
It's a factor.
Well, I want to end this on a positive note. Or before I end, is there anything that you wanted to ask me? Because I know, before we started, you had a couple of
Yeah,
questions for me. Yeah.
yeah. I wanted to ask you about the Aladdin name, about your story. Yeah, yeah,
Okay. Um, okay. So I'll tell a short version of it. I never intended to really be Aladdin. Uh, I had questions, and they weren't really doubts, but I had questions since a young age, like 16 or 17. But I was also immersed in this world, not as deep as you were, but enough that it wasn't even really an option that I was considering Islam as false or that I want to leave Islam or
mm,
something like that. And it caused a lot of internal conflict in me. And I would always try to research to find the answers so I can put it to rest, so I can continue having faith. And eventually it just wasn't happening. And then I had things to worry about in my own life, so I just put it aside. And I was like, okay, I'll come back to this later. But these questions never go away.
yeah.
You
Keep
At least for some people, you don't choose to stop thinking about it.
Yes, it
um,
jumps in your mind. Even always, you could just go away and it jumps.
yeah. That you don't, like, you'd be doing the most random thing, or especially that Islam is everywhere in our lives.
Yeah,
It's not a topic that only comes up on Friday, or at least, for some people, it's always there.
yeah.
Um,
It's all your details.
Everything you do in life, you have to consider: is this halal or haram? Does this please Allah? And 5 times a day, I have to remember Allah, and in between as well. Um, like, you eat, you say Bismillah, you drop something, you say Bismillah, Astaghfirullah, Inshallah, everything. And eventually I got to a point where in my life I needed to know, for me, for my own, um, like, for my inner peace, and also for other people around me. Like, say for example, I want to find a partner. I have to know how I feel about being with a Muslim, or being with a religious person, sharing a life with them forever. I have to know what I would tell them, because I didn't want to be one of those people who would eventually figure out the answers, right, and think, oh, okay, I have the answers now. I'm going to be more of a pious Muslim again because I believe in it more, and then I ditch whatever was going on in my life and the people in my life. You know, so
Mm,
I sat down and I really dug in, and I kept looking for help, um, in all the right places. Like, I spoke to so many people who are more knowledgeable than me. Um, I like all their answers. I'm sure you've heard. Like, I'm sure you've
yeah,
asked questions and heard. It's all the same stuff, like justifying anything, denying things, and eventually, like, and I was looking into the sources as well. Um, and you said it. You were researching all of this sirah and hadith and this history. You're able. It's easier for you having the internet and knowing Arabic. You can understand this stuff. And eventually I just came to the conclusion, this cannot be the truth. Like, I always thought more highly of Allah and Islam than that.
yeah.
And those two versions didn't agree at all. Not just extremist Islam, just Islam in general, in any
Mm,
interpretation. unless you ignore the last 13, 1400 years and pretend like the new interpretation is what God meant all along, and everyone doesn't understand Islam. And so eventually I was struggling with that, and then I found communities online where there were other people like me,
Nice.
and I learned about the label ex-Muslim. And like that wasn't too long ago. That was less than maybe like 2 years ago or something. And I was surprised. And eventually I found myself participating in these spaces because there was so much misinformation in the English speaking world. They like if you thought in Arabic the sheikhs were like who were trying to put a spin on Islam and make it seem very cute, in the English world it was even worse, and people
Yeah,
didn't know. They
I
had no idea.
see.
They don't speak Arabic.
Yeah, I
So
see.
I felt like a moral responsibility to not to go and change Muslims' minds. It was more about the people in between who
Yeah,
felt like they were crazy, especially in the English speaking world, because there was like more so-called proof that Islam was true
yeah,
because they can't understand all the sources. Um, and so I started participating, and then eventually through a series of like there were a lot of trolls, and I had to become an administrator to start like an admin in a group to start removing trolls, and that got me to running into Abdullah Samir, the
yeah.
friendly ex-Muslim on YouTube, and that ended up with me appearing on his channel without, just like you, just my voice. And I had to come up with a name, and I thought Alauddin is ironic because in Arabic it means
Yeah,
one who praises religion or raises religion or something, um, or one with high religious morals, whatever. And yeah, and as I was speaking, a lot of people in the chat and Abdullah Samir was telling me, you should talk more about this. You should start a channel or something. I was like, no, 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 I'm not gonna do that. And he even told me like, do you want me to promote a channel? I said I don't even have a channel. And right after the call, I remember it was getting late. Right after the call, I decided like within 30 minutes, I was like, you know what? I'll just create a Twitter account and a YouTube channel. I'll see what happens. And
yeah.
then I ended up being on TikTok as well, and then YouTube only. Like I really started making videos only in August or September or something.
Mm.
Um, so I'm
But it's
very
successful.
grateful. Sorry.
But it's successful in this time, really.
Well, yeah, I'm very happy about it, and I had no idea what to expect or what my idea of success would look like. Like I didn't have a plan of like by 2022 I'm gonna have this much. I want to do this. I was just trying to figure out what am I even like. I'm trying to figure out my goals here. It was certainly not for fame. Like the way that I started, I was wearing that red hoodie and I had it like so low, and I was just always in dark lighting because I didn't want to show any details. Um, and then I realized it made me look very like it was harder for people to relate when I look like this evil hidden character. Especially when they already demonize us. Uh, and then, yeah, little by little, I started finding my own voice in a sense and finding what is more productive and less stressful for me. And
Yeah.
that's how I ended up here. And I don't know where I'm going to be a year from now, but it's been good so far. I've learned a lot, and yeah, and I'm very happy that I got chances to meet people like yourself. You have
Thank you.
no
I'm very
idea how
happy
many
also.
people. Sorry. Yeah.
I'm really happy for you and happy to meet you also.
Likewise, I'm really glad this happened, and um, you're not alone. Everyone in the chat, and you're not alone. Like I've read so many of these stories, but not everybody has the either the freedom or luxury, or sometimes even the courage at the time to come out and talk about them, especially with their voice. So I really, really appreciate you doing this.
So I want to add something else.
Mhm.
Uh, something I keep hearing. So what you are not Muslim, you have no religion. Why don't you sleep with your mother? I
Oh
want to
God.
answer about this really. Uh, I I googled and I tried to search about fatwa. I found this fatwa that if a man makes zina with a woman, so he slept with her without a marriage, and he has a daughter, he, according to the Malikiya, he can marry his daughter from zina.
Oh God.
Each time someone face you, tell you, why don't you ex-Muslims sleep with your daughters, mothers, just tell him this fatwa. Would Muslim, if he find it that it's halal, would anyone sleep with his daughter in the zina?
I mean, it's easy for them, like you said, they have this idea of a peaceful, great Islam. It's very easy for them to be like, nah, that's not real Islam. And that's
And
it.
this is in islamweb.net.
Oh, yeah.
Everyone, you
Yeah.
can search it.
Yep. And I noticed something as you mentioned it, I just realized something that is sexist about it. And maybe that's because I'm talking to a woman that I only thought about it this way. They never really say, as a woman, like, would you sleep with your father? They always say, would you sleep with your mother? Like the man to a woman.
Yeah.
It's very sexist because, and it's also projecting how they feel about women in general. Like
Yes.
women are always sexualized to the point that they think if you lose this control that Islam and Allah has on you, the first thing you're going to do is go harass women or sleep with your own mother. Like that's such a weird mentality.
Really, seriously.
Yeah. And part of it comes from like how you were saying, like you had to dress a certain way in front of your dad because of what these religious groups taught you, because they incept this idea that there could be temptation between family members. It's weird.
It's really weird.
So weird. But anyway, that's a weird topic
Yeah.
to end on. But no, you still had other questions for me, or was that
No,
it?
it's thank you. I want to thank you.
No, for sure. And if you have any like suggestions for things that I can do better or things I haven't thought to do yet, I'm open to that. So
So
yeah,
I can think later, and I I tell
yeah,
you.
feel free.
And now I don't have it in my head.
Okay. Well, I want to thank everyone in the audience who's been keeping it interesting, and they've been engaged, and a lot of them have been civil. So thank you to them and the moderators, and everyone who supports this channel in every way. And thank you to Luna for appearing today.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, and I'm really happy we had this, and I'm hoping to have more conversations like this in the future. And I'm hoping that if it's you, Luna, or anyone in the comments, if you find value in these kind of chats, then you should watch them. But if you get to a point where it's overwhelming and you want to move on, or you're able to move on, as in like it's not relevant in your life anymore, then of course feel free to just tune out and don't overwhelm yourself. So yeah, thank you very much, everybody.
So thank you,
And
guys.
yeah, anything else you want to say before we end?
No, I say Muslims, we love you. Non-Muslim, we love you. Just be reasonable. All just try to hear each other without prejudgment.
That's a great way to end this. All right. I suppose I'm going to end now. As always, think critically, everybody, and think for yourself. Bye-bye.
Yeah.